The following program is an MLWRadio.com production.
Today's episode of What Happened When? Monday is brought to you by our friends at FullBrickHouse.com. If you're ready to own a house for only $500 down, FullBrickHouse.com is the place for you. They'll even help you cover your moving costs. It sounds too good to be true, but now you can own a full brick house, a brand new home, for less than what you're paying in current rent, and maybe even better than that. Credit scores in the 500s can be approved. And as always, with a new home, of course, you're getting a bumper-to-bumper warranty. If something goes wrong, you're covered. And if you're worried about your lease, FullBrickHouse.com can even help you buy out your current lease. And of course, the very best thing about FullBrickHouse.com is you're going to be in a brand new home. New is just better. Not only do you get a warranty, you get to pick everything out. You can make this dream a reality and own your very own full brick house for only $500 down, even with less than perfect credit, at FullBrickHouse.com.
Something to Wrestle With Live is coming to Detroit Sunday, October 8th at the St. Andrews Hall in Detroit.
So I went to the show in Los Angeles, and it was unreal.
The one in Baltimore before the Extreme Rules show. Yeah, it was awesome. It was a great experience.
God damn!
Excuse me, sir. I'm trying to do a commercial for Something to Wrestle With Live with Bruce Pritchard.
He's a heel!
Something to Wrestle With Live is coming to Detroit Sunday, October 8th at the St. Andrews Hall in Detroit.
I did the VIP meet and greet, so I thought that was really cool. We got to show up early and got to hang out with Bruce and Conrad for a little bit beforehand.
The show was amazing. The surprise guests were awesome. Come out of a box, you're over, mother...
Nope.
Completely hilarious. The part, hands down, had to be the meet and greet.
Start to finish, the whole show was a blast.
Tweeted out what a blast it was.
I don't want anybody touching my shit.
Excuse me, sir.
Go through your shit.
No one's touching your stuff.
Touching my
I don't know.
Motherfuckers.
No.
Talk to me. Just talk to me.
Sir.
Oh my God. I'm freaking out. Just talk to
Sir,
me. Pull my
you need to
car
leave.
Up, right to the goddamn
You need
door.
to go.
Get my shit out. Put my shit in my car
So,
right there. And I
fine.
walk through the goddamn hallway.
Fine. Something to Wrestle With Live is coming to Detroit Sunday, October 8th at 1 p.m. at the St. Andrews Hall with special guest Jim Cornette. Tickets for this and other upcoming Something to Wrestle With Live shows are available at boxofgimmicks.com. Sunday, October 8th at 1 p.m. at the St. Andrews Hall with special guest Jim Cornette.
Motherfucker.
Welcome to WHW Monday. Tony Schiavone and Conrad Thompson talking about the great years of World Championship Wrestling, the NWA, and Jim Crockett Promotions. And now, let's go to the ring. And here's your co-host. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to What Happened When? Monday here on the MLW Radio Network. And we're joined by our very special guest. I don't guess you're a guest. You're here every week. It's the man with the plan, Tony Schiavone.
Well, anytime I come to the Conradison, I'm a guest. So, yeah, I'm a guest. Thank you, buddy. It's good to be with you. Another great weekend. And another great weekend of wrestling.
And we're about to be dissecting what won the poll this week, which is Nitro number 159. And we want you to go ahead and pull this up on the WWE Network. Tony Schiavone, of course, was doing live commentary on this show back on September 28th, 1998. But we're going to revisit it now and through a different set of eyes. You know, obviously Tony's been out of wrestling for a long time, but he's paying attention again now. But at the same time, wrestling and society is a lot different. So we're going to take a look at something that happened roughly 19 years ago. So if you haven't already, go ahead and flip it over to the WWE Network. We're going to fire down on episode 159 of Monday Nitro. And as a reminder, this went down on September 28th, 1998. Tony, are you ready?
Before you hit play, I do want to say this is a little warm-up for me for what's coming up this Thursday as we download this on Monday. The MLW One Shot is coming up at the Guilt Nightclub.
That's right, yeah.
On Thursday, and I'm going to be one of the commentators there.
So check it out. Pick up your tickets right now. I believe tickets are on sale.
$15 each. Right.
That's a great value.
Right.
Court Bauer put together some phenomenal shows in the early 2000s. If you weren't really paying attention then, maybe that doesn't ring a bell. Go out of your way to find the DVDs or find those online. I'm sure they're hanging around somewhere. and he's getting the band back together, so to speak. Ricochet is going to be there. It's going to be quite the show. And something you never thought you would hear, Tony Schiavone calling a Ricochet match. It's going to happen. It's MLW One Shot. So pick up your tickets now and stay tuned, because you never know. We might have a live show announcement pretty soon. Right, Tony?
Pretty soon we might. We are certainly working on it, aren't we?
We're working on it. We've got lots of folks. We're working on different venues and ideas. And we've already got some preliminary guests who have expressed interest in participating. So if and when that comes together, we'll announce it here on the show.
All right.
So go ahead and fire up the WWE Network, and we're going to have you press play, and we're going to tell you to do that right now. I feel like we should remind everybody that whenever they pick up a shirt over at ProWrestlingTees.com/WHW, you actually give them a call. Isn't that right?
I call and spend some time with them. Some guys are very modest and want to just spend a few moments with me, and they all say, I know you got a lot of calls to make, which they're right. But if you want to spend more time with me and ask me some questions and have a few words, I'm more than glad to talk to you. You know, it sounds cliches and kind of trite, but you know, you do mean a lot to me on many levels. That you're a fan and you appreciate my work, and number two, that you bought a shirt to help out the wedding cause for the Schiavone family. So it all means a lot, and I do this because I want to. We've got some great shirts. You know, there's no doubt that Tommy Young, go ahead.
Tommy Young. Still probably the number one seller, right?
Number one seller, absolutely. And Damn I Am Good is a big seller as well. A lot of people are getting the out-of-time shirts.
And I've seen a lot, believe it or not, of the old Schiavone-style Slamboree shirts. I know that that's a favorite in your household, but I dig it. I know Zack Ryder loves Lois Still Rules. I mean, there's so many really fun shirts over at ProWrestlingTees.com/WHW. I feel like suckers got to know that you're going to give them a call. And I don't know that you saw this, but somewhere on cable TV in the last week or two, someone was rocking Bill's glass bottom boat ride tours.
Well, I talked to one of our fans. I don't remember the name. He said he went to the Baltimore equivalent of Comic-Con and he wore the Tommy Young shirt.
Really?
Yeah, and he wore it on the floor, and he said he got every bit of 5 to 6 guys as he's walking by going, Tommy Young. It's well known. I mean, we're looking right now at the Nitro girls. Yikes. Dancing, and this is look how hot we are as far as all the signs and all the reaction of the fans, and it's just it's a great time for WCW. We're in Rochester, New York, a town that I've been in many times calling baseball games, but the fans are just really into everything, and they're into wrestling, and it's a great time to be part of WCW Monday Nitro. But now we go to the set.
What the fuck are you wearing? Look at this. You've got on a double-breasted coat, but then you've got on like a polo rugby. I don't know. Did Lois dress you here?
Apparently she did, because this sucks. And look at the reaction for the living legend Larry Zbyszko.
Oh, he's got to soak it in here.
Boy, is he ever.
You know, it's weird seeing Mike Tenay on TV, you know, after all this time, because he's been away from wrestling for a little while. Do you think we ever see Tenay back involved in wrestling again?
I don't think so. I think Mike, living out in Las Vegas, enjoys what he's doing. The professor was always big into sports books and I guess gambling or betting on games. And I think he's got his own podcast about sports books. So I don't think so. And I think he still has the first penny he ever made as well.
Right here, I got to say, it looks like you run like a Boy Scout troop, or you like you live in a tree house. Like, I don't know what the deal is there. You have an interesting look there.
I think it's rather sexy. It's
you consider yourself sexy here.
It's Tony. Well, yeah, it's Tony Schiavone's look. It's different.
I like that we're referring to ourselves in third person.
Yes, I like that. Okay.
All right. Hulk Hogan's out here with Eric Bischoff, and I feel like Hogan gets a lot of unnecessary criticism. One of the most dynamic performers of all time, because whether you loved him or hated him, he was one of the most over baby faces, if not the most ever over at the time. And here, he's over so hard as a super heel, and very few can be so well at both.
Well, when he first came to WCW, he was a babyface. If we'll recall, Bash at the Beach 1994, and it was one of our biggest nights ever. Then we did our biggest business when he turned heel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it ramped up big for, his debut, but then it took it to another level with him turning heel. And Hogan, whether you want to admit it or not, is really the guy who moved the needle in a big way for WCW. They had been a money losing company year after year after year, ever since Turner bought it. And then when Hogan shows up, they started turning a profit. And that, for whatever reason, doesn't get talked about. But without Hogan being here, WCW would have never been in a position to beat the WWF, in my opinion.
No, you're right. You are exactly right. And that's all Eric Bischoff's doing. And that's...
You see the Vince McMahon painting in the back?
I did.
There's a giant photo of Vince McMahon in the front or second row, an old school promo photo of him. And if I had to make a bet, security's coming to snatch that shit. There they come.
On the right. You're exactly right. One of Doug Dillinger's stooges taking down the Vince McMahon sign.
Who in the truck would have seen that and put a bug in the ear of the security to go?
It probably would have been probably Keith Mitchell.
Yeah.
Probably would have seen that.
So just to kind of catch you up here, there's a little bit of, a hodgepodge of storylines going on here. Because on the one hand, you've got Bret Hart, who has been working with Sting, but Bret is saying, Hogan broke a promise to me. So Hogan and Bret are cross. But at the same time, the Warrior is here, and that's who Hogan's really trying to chase to avenge his 1990 loss at WrestleMania 6. And Tony has maybe our best show ever in Halloween Havoc 1998, where you did hilarious commentary here in 2017 on that. I don't know. I guess we'll call it train wreck of Hogan Warrior 2. What a debacle that was. It's available in the archives, and we're on our build here. So we're kind of doing things a little out of order because we've already covered that pay-per-view, but this is September 28th. So we're definitely building towards that Halloween Havoc show.
Yeah. That match was a clusterfuck with fire is what that was. If I recall. But again, it just blows my mind about, and I look at this Conrad and I'm thinking, how did we fuck all this up? How do we fuck all this excitement? How do we fuck all this fan support up? We're talking Rochester, New York. We're not talking about one of the strongholds for the old NWA in Greensboro or in Charlotte or in the South or in Jacksonville. We're talking Rochester, New York. And look how hot we are. And of course, Hulk Hogan is in the center of the ring right now, and he's got everybody's attention, and he's cutting a tremendous heel promo.
It's worth mentioning when you're talking about the business doing well here. This is a sellout crowd of 10,523 fans, 9,814 paid $247,666. That was a house that was unheard of just a few years prior to this.
Absolutely.
And this is, a lot of people would say, oh, WCW is already on the downswing here, but their business here in 98 is still another level from 1997. And the narrative has been changed over the years to where that doesn't really reflect, but your average attendance in August of 97 was 5,200 fans. Your average attendance in August of 98 was 7,900 fans. Your average gate went from 88,000 up to 173,000, and ratings are way up too. They go from a 2.3 to a 3.7. So it's trending up, and it's even trending up from the prior month. In July, the average rating was a 3.3. It's even higher in August. So a lot of people assume that after Starrcade 97, the business started to tumble a little bit for WCW. That's just not the case. Now, creatively, you could argue differently,
right? But
financially, you guys are seeing success everywhere you go.
Success everywhere, and it's because look at the talent that we had. Look in the ring right now, where there's Hogan, we've got the Warrior, we've got Bret Hart. And if they talk about the Monday Night Wars, well, fans were looking at seeing who would end up showing up next with the NWO, or who would walk in unannounced, surprised. And it was just a great time for WCW.
The week prior to this, we should mention that Nitro was at the Fleet Center in Boston. They drew 15,144 fans, 14,280 of which paid $265,279. So back to back, huge shows here. And on that show, the reason I mention it is at one point, of course, smoke appears in the ring. And then when the smoke clears, the Disciple's there, but he's asleep on the mat. And then Hogan and the NWO Black and White show up, and they're trying to recapture Ed Leslie, but the steam comes. So then we see the Warrior in the rafters with a blow-up doll that's supposed to look like the Disciple. They don't do any close-ups at all.
Thank God.
But we're supposed to believe that Ed Leslie, who was just lifeless in the ring asleep, is now the blow-up doll in the rafters in the blink of an eye. Who booked this shit?
I don't know. I don't know who booked this shit, but I can tell you, I guess Kevin Sullivan was main part of the booking committee.
Actually, believe it or not, by this point, Kevin Sullivan and Terry Taylor were kind of on the outs. They had recently sent Terry Taylor home, and most of the creative decisions were being done by Eric Bischoff and, believe it or not, Hervey.
Jason Hervey, former child actor from the Wonder Years, great friend of Eric Bischoff. He had curried a lot of favor with Bill Shaw. So Hervey was helping Bischoff, but he's got heavy influence every Monday and every Thursday for Hogan and Nash. There's a delicate balancing act kind of behind the scenes right now of who's going to really have the influence, Hogan or Nash. Hogan wants to be the guy to get his victory over Goldberg and be the first guy to beat him and win the belt back. Nash is trying to move himself into that spot instead. But if he can't be the guy who beats Goldberg, he wants to be the guy who beats Hogan after Hogan beats Goldberg. Or at least that's according to Dave Meltzer and the Wrestling Observer. Wow. Your response? Well, my response is I had no idea this was going on. I knew Jason and Eric were good friends. I knew that they were close. I knew that he was an advisor, but I don't know. One time, and this was not, I don't think
we're just now doing the open. So everything we've seen so far happened before the open.
Right.
I didn't do any research on this. Do you think this is probably when you guys were trying to start the show a few minutes early, and now this is going to be the top of the hour right here?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. You bring out Hogan and you capture the audience.
So they won't channel change.
They won't channel change, and you get that rating hit at the top of the hour, because if I recall, I remember the ratings meter was at the top, the quarter at the bottom.
Yeah, they were doing quarter hours.
Right.
So if you wanted to secure your first quarter hour, why not start with Hogan? Mm-hmm. And then if you're like me, you're thinking, well, let's get La Parka out here.
Yeah, right. So why not just flush it down the fucking toilet and bring La Parka out?
Whoa. I won't let you sit here and disparage the good goddamn name of La Parka.
The good goddamn name, La Parka?
La Parka's the fucking man. He's my favorite luchador ever. You disagree?
He really?
He's the chairman of WCW. Just ask him. Look at this.
I can tell too. And this is, as you can tell, they're paying attention to La Parka, aren't they?
Well, they're mugging for the camera.
Yeah.
This just goes to show you there are rednecks even in New York.
Well, they're everywhere, buddy.
And here's what I always wondered, like, how do so many rednecks get front row tickets for WCW?
That's a good question.
Where did they pass that out? Down at the bowling alley or the Waffle House? Where's this going down? And I can say that I'm from Alabama.
Yes.
All right. So up next, Super Callow. Oh God. What's your favorite Super Callow match, Tony?
It's coming up right here, I do believe. We're getting ready to see it. This is the one I remember. This is the one I remember more than any, because they did a couple of really great high spots and didn't sell shit.
If he had a tag team partner, I would want the tag team partner's name to be Fragilistic.
Love the sunglasses that are sewn onto the mask, don't you?
I do. I feel like sold my supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Sold that. And I feel like you're stealing my gimmick now, because he's got the LL Cool J pants on, which I like. So there's the one leg high and one leg low. But I love the sunglasses. La Parka's dancing is the best, man.
Oh my God.
La Parka's the best.
Oh my God.
Super Callow with the shades inside the mask makes him cool, right?
Well, if you say it loud enough, you always sound atrocious.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you very much. I thought I would say that. Super Callow with a right hand, and it's you really do like La Parka, right? I mean,
I love La Parka.
Well, he is one of the biggest luchadors. That's what we used to always sell. And there's nothing like a nut shot from a luchador.
Right in front of a referee.
Right in front of the referee. Nothing like a nut shot from a luchador. And, of course, the referee doesn't admonish him, and the match keeps going on.
This referee looks like a cartoon version of a referee from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
It's Billy Silverman, It's who he is, and that's Alicia Silverman's younger brother.
Billy Silverman here, to me, looks like he sells nationwide insurance.
Should I call some spots here?
Let's do it.
Okay. Foot to the face. La Parka turns around. He hits him again in the jaw. He's got to adjust his mask one more time. Oh, my goodness. How about this? Not even knocking his teeth out on that turnbuckle. That was a reference to recently on No Mercy. And up to the top goes La Parka, sending Super Calu up. Billy Silverman. Oh, man, he's got some moves, doesn't he, Conrad? And he pulls him down by the hair. Up top, that's called a Hurricane Rana.
Ric Flair calls it a Havoc Corona.
A Havoc Corona into the midsection, and down goes Super Calo. Here comes La Park again, and the largest luchador hits the iron.
That's the second time he's done the pole shot in 60 seconds.
Yeah, and of course, he's not going to sell it, as you can tell.
Let's briefly touch on last week's episode because a lot of people dug, and it's quickly become one of our most downloaded episodes, My Year in the WWF. What was the feedback you got from that week?
Everybody that I talked with gave me great feedback that it was kind of behind the scenes look at some of the things that went down with Titan TV back then and some of the great stories. I got a lot of feedback about, and I only talked about this at the end in a very short period, about the deposition I did with Jerry McDivitt.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people knew that ever happened.
Right. They talked about that and about my relationship with Vince and my relationship with Linda. And, it was before the kids were grown up. So it was a different time.
Sure.
And the things I've heard about Vince McMahon since then are not the Vince McMahon that I remember.
Right.
Everybody changes, I guess, and everybody moves on.
Well, one of the things that kind of went viral after our episode last week is, I questioned you almost like a prosecutor about Vince's house. And,
right.
And we joked about the rumor and innuendo that there was a silly portrait of Vince McMahon in his living room.
Right.
And then someone found it from an old issue of Sports Illustrated somewhere in March of 1991. They interviewed Vince about the World Wrestling Federation, and it was a cross promotion to help promote WrestleMania 7. But they showed, a picture of Vince on his couch, lounging around in some silly workout clothes. That's kind of his version of Zubaz, which he called Zero Boogie. And he's got this giant dog underneath him, these crazy high top sneakers. But then there's this portrait over his couch that almost looks like it's out of Ghostbusters. Do you remember the portrait in Ghostbusters that came to life? But it's a Vince McMahon sitting like side saddle on a motorcycle. Mm-hmm. It's just absurd. And that photo went viral, and I've got to think that it happened because we talked about it here on our show last week.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I never did see that thing. And of course it could have. We're talking about WrestleMania 7, so that was a year later after I left.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know that it was brand new, but it was funny because on my show with Bruce Pritchard, Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, somethingtowrestle.com, at the very beginning of this week's episode, this past Friday, I asked him about it, and he told me that's not the only portrait in the house. Linda actually has one, too.
Wow.
And now I'm curious, like, will we ever get to see Linda's? Yeah. If we've got Vince's in, like, a tight polo, side saddle on a bike, what's Linda doing?
What's she side saddle on, right?
Well, I wasn't going to say all that.
Well, I would just theorize. Have a Corona. 1, 2, and Billy Silverman. Notice how the chair is still positioned on the apron of the ring. Does that mean he's going to come into play here?
Might be a little foreshadowing for the chairman of the board here.
It sure is. Now they're just doing acrobatic shit. That's all they're doing. That nobody sells. See, this is the part. And I do understand there's a market for this. Oh, but a move like that, wouldn't you cover him?
Oh, that move hurt.
Yeah.
Let me just say, the Alabama Slam.
Is that what that's called? The Alabama Slam?
I think that's what Hardcore Holly referred to it.
That's a great move.
It's a big boy to be doing that.
You're damn right. I was thinking the same thing. And he got a 3 count. La Parka is your winner over Super Calo. And there's the chair, like we said. Oh, come on, hit the guy, not the mat. Please, if you're going to hit him with a chair like that, I can man up and hit him, buddy. It's not going to hurt him. We got to go to a break. Thank fucking God.
So I feel like I should mention here, a lot of people remember this too. Davey Boy Smith was very famously injured from taking bumps on the trap door that was set up to allow the Warrior to enter the ring. Well, I didn't realize it until I did some research here, but it turns out Conan, Disco Inferno, and Juventud were all banged up from hitting that trap door too. Does that ring a bell? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. I especially remember that Disco Inferno was banged up because he always let everybody know.
So now for something a little different, we've got Mean Gene, and Bret the Hitman Hart is coming out. He's got on his Calgary Hitman jersey. He's got the leather jacket, and he's got the United States title. And this feels a little weird to me.
Why is that?
Well, just to see Bret Hart in WCW, it almost feels like me trying to write with my left hand.
Okay.
I know it's really happening, but it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, it's like a surreal moment, right?
And for whatever reason, at this point, it was already pretty clear that Bret Hart was not getting over in WCW. And there's lots of theories as to why that is, but I've got one for you. Can I freestyle?
Please.
Well, they're having him come out a lot without any music. And when he does come out, he's kind of, well, let me say this. Recently, he was seconded by Vincent and Stevie Ray. And it feels like to me, if you're coming out as a gang and Bret Hart's your leader, or I guess that's the way they were going here, and you've got Vincent and Stevie Ray,
right?
It doesn't feel like is Bret supposed to bring them up,
right?
Or is what's really happening, they're bringing him down,
right? Yeah, he's leading out. Listen, I love Stevie Ray. He's leading out the job boys of the NWO.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if he's out here with Hall and Nash, okay, that's different.
Sure.
But he's out here with Vincent and Stevie Ray. It just feels like WCW didn't really know what to do with Bret Hart.
That's true. I've got kind of a theory here too. Bret was one of the greatest ring technicians ever.
Absolutely.
But I never thought that Bret was the greatest talker in the world.
Well, at the same time though, the greatest talker in the world, you're talking about a handful of guys. So it's rarefied air.
Okay, look, he wasn't as good a talker as Roddy Piper. He wasn't as good a talker as Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, maybe not Kevin Nash. And maybe, so anyway, we're so, as we saw with Hogan at the beginning of it, we're so tuned into
the promo.
Well,
let me ask you this.
And why didn't they put him in the ring?
Your world champion here is Goldberg. Was he a strong promo?
No, he was.
All right, out next here. Go ahead.
All right. Here is the disciple, man. Look at him. He's looking good. Look at the eyes. He's coming for you, Conrad.
How much cocaine's he on right here? Tell the truth.
I don't know. He's coming for Conrad, who's always talks about him as being Brutus, the fucking barber beefcake.
So he's got, and this just happened a week prior, I believe, on the Nitro prior, is when we see him come out with this One Warrior Nation, the OWN, on his jacket.
Right.
He's showing off that insignia here. And Sick Boy is attacking him. There was recently a match on pay-per-view with Perry Saturn and Raven. And the gimmick was if Perry lost, he had to join the flock. But if Perry won, the flock had to disband. Oh, look at there. Ed Leslie on the receiving end of a suplex. He doesn't sell suplexes, backdrops, knees to the stomach, punches, kicks, tickets. Leslie doesn't sell anything.
Okay. But you got to realize here that he's part of the OWN. So he's like possessed.
So he doesn't sell?
He doesn't sell. None of this shit hurts him.
Guess what else he doesn't do? Pop a rating. Ratings are dying here. It was interesting because that Warrior segment was really, really over the first time, but then not so much. And you started to see slowly but surely it would kill ratings and the crowd. Very recently in the week prior to this in Boston, they actually chanted Warrior sucks, Nitro sucks, this is boring. And they wanted Goldberg. Guess who wasn't at the Super Show in Boston?
Goldberg wasn't.
So Leslie here doing his very best. Ultimate Warrior impression, I suppose, against Sick Boy. What's your favorite Sick Boy match?
This is the first time I ever remember Sick Boy ever being in the ring. When you mentioned Sick Boy right there, I'm thinking, who the fuck is this kid? He doesn't look too bad, though, does he? I mean, the way they dress him in the WWE now, he's probably just part of it. Oh, pretty good foot. Great timing there. You got to admit it, right? You don't like anything that's going on in this match at all, do you?
No, you know what I just realized? I just realized the referee is Sling Blade.
No, it's Scott Dickinson.
Mustard and biscuits.
I'm telling you, that's not Sling Blade.
He ain't got any gas in him. Okay, whoa!
A Stone Cold Stunner
How about that?
is your finish.
1, 2, 3.
A little bit of shade there towards the WWF.
Yep, probably
Gotta
so.
be. Brutus the fucking Barber Beefcake doing a Stone Cold Stunner, and Sling Blade awards him the victory.
I think he looked great here. Look at it. Look at his upper body, his hair. I like it. It's a good gimmick for him. Of the million gimmicks that we gave him, the booty
This
man,
was one of them.
This was one of them. It's time for our 1-800-COLLECT replay. Time for the Stone Cold Stunner. Oh my God!
What would that finisher be called? With his name being the Disciple, what would it be called?
The Disciple Drop.
Revelations.
The riff. The Come to Jesus. Oh my goodness!
Can you imagine if you're 1-800-COLLECT and you're like, wait a minute, we wanted a replay sponsorship and you gave us Brutus the fucking Barber Beefcake against Sick Boy? If I'm 1-800-COLLECT, I'm calling Eric the next day.
Well, if you're 1-800-COLLECT right now, you're out of business.
So as WCW, maybe if WCW had put that replay in an Eddie Guerrero match, 1-800-COLLECT would still be around.
Let me ask you something, Conrad. Do I look taller than the other guys on the
Look
set
how
here?
high your fucking chair is right here.
Damn straight.
You know what's
it is.
great about this? I know underneath that desk your feet are dangling.
You're right. But I'm higher than anybody else, man. Look at that serious look.
You're not higher than Zabisco. He's high as a kite. I'll tell you.
Oh, God.
So, as a reminder, you see this Scott Hall signs all over the crowd.
Yeah.
Scott Hall's doing his drunk gimmick here, and he's been doing it for a few weeks at this point, to the point where they're even trying to make the viewer believe they're breaking character because they're really concerned about Scott Hall's alcohol consumption.
Right.
What was your take on that? It felt a little out of place.
It was out of place. I never thought that Scott Hall, I know he had alcohol problems. I mean, it's well documented.
Right.
But I never thought he came to the ring that way.
Well, he may have, but there's certainly, having him have Vincent bring drinks to the ring for him and him taking swigs off of it during the match, all kinds of silliness. As a reminder here, we're getting a flashback from Road Wild, which was 2 pay-per-views prior, where Buff Bagwell's in a neck brace and he's taking care of his buddy, Big Papa Pump, who's got his arm in a sling. He's got a neck brace on. And then J.J. Dillon is saying if Scott doesn't perform in the match, he is banned from wrestling. And of course, it reveals that turns out Scott's just fine. And they're doing this to advance the feud with Rick and Scott Steiner, which is something I think a lot of people always imagined that we would get. And here we see a flashback from Fall Brawl. This match went to a no contest because Buff Bagwell would position himself to be injured. And this is really kind of tasteless too, because if you recall earlier this year, I believe it was February, on Thunder, Rick Steiner doing a bulldog off the top rope, let go of Buff's head. Buff's head hit Rick's back, and Buff laid there lifeless for several minutes in a very real situation. And they're trying to kind of turn that into an angle here as they load Buff into the back of an ambulance.
Yeah. Again, it could be tasteless, and I do understand that, but you got to try to do something.
No, I agree, but a lot of people were really concerned about Buff, as they well should have been in February, and now here they're just turning it into something. So we see them close the ambulance on Scott and Buff Bagwell, and Rick is kind of distraught as he staggers away from the ambulance. And what do you know? Those bad guys, they were just fakers. They're putting the boots to Rick.
Yeah, who'd want to fake in pro wrestling? And now here comes Doug Dillinger out and his henchmen. And this is, I'm telling you, see, this is scary stuff right here, because Scott Steiner, when he gets in the middle of an angle,
he's just going.
He's going to hit anybody. I wouldn't get involved in it at all. Can I say something here about Larry Zbyszko?
Please do.
One of the great color men of all time. Wouldn't you agree?
I think he's very underrated. He comes off as very cool and cocky and arrogant, and it presents itself as a phenomenal television character. I actually greatly preferred him as a commentator, even over his wrestling days.
Right, and he would talk about the holds and the psychology of wrestling.
Yeah.
He was actually a color commentator as far as the wrestling product was concerned, more than just a gimmick. Does that make sense?
No, I totally agree. He's
Yeah.
not, and obviously all respect to Bobby the Brain Heenan. Bobby Heenan was trying to get over their characters,
Right.
and storylines and such, and he did a phenomenal job at that.
Yeah.
Bobby Heenan got over everybody he worked with. But as far as if you were calling wrestling like a real sport, you know, he was doing kind of what Tony Romo's doing with the NFL these days.
Right, exactly. So, and unfortunately, Larry's stuff wouldn't play today because, oh my gosh.
And the first Nitro girl on the left right here is
It is Whisper, who now is
Shawn Michaels' wife.
Shawn Michaels' wife. I loved Whisper. She was Rebecca Kersey was her name. She was she was a freaking 10, number one, but she was such a nice lady. She really was. And very popular with everybody, just very friendly, beautiful smile. And well, there's Kimberly. Do you think Kimberly cannot dance? You know, all the Nitro girls, none of the Nitro girls I was told, I think we brought this up before, none of them liked Kimberly because they thought she couldn't dance. But she looked good, didn't she?
I don't think it matters if you can dance. This is a business where the guys who make the most in the wrestling business can't actually wrestle.
Yeah, good point.
So
Good point.
kind of is what it is. Now, this is going to be a fun match here. At least I hope it will be.
Yeah, boy, so do I.
Because we've got Big Papa Pump, who's going to be headed to the ring with his second in command,
Yeah.
Mr. Buff Bagwell.
Mhm.
We've talked about Buff a lot on this show, and Buff's strutting out with some airbrushed everything.
Shoot.
Scott Steiner is as big as a house.
My God, look at the veins in his arms.
Yeah, they're not going to. He has himself. He looks like Colonel Sanders on his own dick right now.
I saw the same thing.
I don't know. Right now, I feel like we need to just have Dave Silva Photoshop. Oh, there's the top of Buff's hat.
Yeah.
That's airbrushed. But with him looking like he has Colonel Sanders on his own crotch,
Yeah.
it makes me think of the new commercials, finger licking. And I don't know why, but we need to have Dave Silva Photoshop finger licking over the top of that. Tony, I see this top hat, and I've got lots of fun ideas. The top
boy.
hat that Buff wore to the ring, and he's got his own face spray painted or airbrushed on top. I think if we ever do a live show, we need to have you do the Buff dance on the stage.
Okay.
Except when you take it off and show everybody the top of the hat and what's airbrushed, it won't be your face, it'll be Tom Zink's face. Your thoughts?
Go for it. If it sells fucking money, what the hell? I'm a whore. Hey, so can I say something about the Buff and Scott Steiner angle here? Or,
Please do, yeah.
Okay. I had legitimate heat with Buff Bagwell
Really?
during this time. And Buff confronted me with this. I called on a Nitro or maybe a pay-per-view. Maybe it was Road Wild. I'm not sure. I called Buff Bagwell Scott Steiner's lackey. Lackey. Doesn't it look like he's being his lackey to you?
Well, certainly.
Okay. And Buff took exception to that. And he confronted, we were on an airplane. He said, lackey? That's how he started the conversation. I walk in the airplane. He's sitting in first class. He goes, lackey? I went, what? He said, you're calling me his lackey? I said, isn't that what the angle's about? Isn't that what you're doing?
Certainly.
He said, yeah, but I'm nobody's lackey. I said, sorry. And I just kept walking and got to my seat on the plane. And we kind of had a little bit of friction after that. He was not as cool to me, which blew me away, Conrad. Come on.
That's the angle.
Yeah, it's the angle. And this is all the work.
And by the way, Buff's doing a great job at it.
Yes, he was good at it.
So here's what I found interesting about this. Scott's going to be taking on 2-on-1 here. And this is a throwback for a lot of you who may have missed this. But on the outside, of course, Lenny Lane. What's your favorite Lenny Lane match, Tony?
Wow. I can't remember Lenny Lane. I'm sorry.
Well, this guy in the ring right now?
Yeah, I can't remember him either. What's his name?
Nick Dinsmore, who would go on to be the WWF's Eugene. WWE did a character, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years after this.
Eugene?
Called Eugene, and he portrayed a special needs character who was the nephew of Eric Bischoff. But a lot of people, myself included, may have seen this match and not realized, hey, that's Eugene.
Wow.
So,
Eugene.
There's a little bit of trivia for you. I take it you were out of wrestling and had no idea that there was a special needs character.
No, I was once wrestling stopped, I was done.
Yeah,
I didn't watch any of it, so I didn't realize a special needs character that had to go over like a turd in a punch bowl. Special needs.
They took a little bit of heat. They tried to play it off, and it got over for a little while.
Did it?
I mean, to what degree is debatable, I'm sure.
Can I ask a very important question?
Yes.
In our universe, did Court Bauer book that shit?
No.
Okay. Just making sure.
No.
Okay. Because if so, I wanted to blame him for it.
So this Buff hat is really like the primary focus of the entire thing. What do you reckon Buff paid for that hat?
Wow. He paid $1,000 for that hat.
There's no chance.
Really?
If that's $1,000, I'm getting in the hat painting business.
Okay. The reason I say $1,000 is those guys would shell out money for anything. It didn't matter. They were bleeding money. They were pissing money away. Hey, this hat's going to cost you $1,500. Okay, let's go. Look at this.
Unlike you, I mean, you're still wearing a double-breasted blazer you had from 1987 up there.
That's because I'm not making the money these guys are, and I've got 5 kids.
I'm not mad at it.
Whoa.
So he just did the crotch chop and went finger licking. Like in my head when Scott does the crotch chop, he goes finger licking. I mean, he's pointing at Colonel Sanders.
That's going to have to be a t-shirt.
Finger licking.
Finger licking.
So far, total domination by Big Papa Pump. Let's have you call the finish here.
Okay.
Pretty interesting move.
It's a Steiner double recliner. Look at this. Look at Lenny Lane says yes. And Eugene says, money later. Oh, and now Scott Steiner's going to sell his back here.
Let's talk about what Buff is wearing here. Is Buff Bagwell the only person in history to buy white overalls who wasn't a painter?
Maybe so.
Like, who else wear Oompa Loompas, painters, right, and Buff Bagwell? That's all that ever wore white overalls.
It was a hell of a gimmick.
Why did WCW never have an Oompa Loompa gimmick?
Right. Because we never booked any midgets.
No, but here's what I'm saying. We've been talking for months now about the goddamn Candy Man. That would have been so awesome.
Well,
the goddamn Candy Man had Oompa Loompas.
Here's Danny Young, our trainer, which I don't...
Wait, that's Danny Young.
We tried to book a hunchback.
I heard about this.
Okay.
Smarten everybody up who maybe hasn't heard this story.
Well, Jim Hurd said, I want to get a hunchback. I said, really? Yes. And he's got that goddamn hump on his back, so you never can pin his shoulders. And I'm thinking, this guy is fucking... And he, you know what? He told me that in the meeting that we had at the Grand Hyatt. And I didn't run out of the fucking room. I should have run out of the room right then. I should have turned and said, fuck this shit. I'm going to go to some deli here and eat a tuna wedge.
Tuna wedge. We're back on Nitro here. I assume these fireworks mean it's the next hour, right?
Yes, it does mean it's the next hour. It means we're going to get Bobby the Brain Heenan coming in. So, which is always kind of exciting because Bobby really brought a lot to the show.
So Bobby's going to be replacing the professor? Is that right?
No, he's going to be replacing Zbyszko, I believe.
Okay.
I believe Professor had entrenched himself into being a full part of Nitro. So now we go from that dissolve. Great shot here, huh? Of fucking nothing.
Well, we've got
fucking nothing. I mean, this is dark. It's nothing.
Well, but you know what's coming. We've got the sound off, but I'm sure there's some silly music playing.
Yeah.
And you have an idea who's coming out, right?
Yeah, sure.
So when did you know that this was going to be a failure?
From the word go.
Like as soon as they said we're bringing him?
Yeah.
Because he got a huge rating the first time. So when the rating comes out and you see it's a big rating, did you second guess your original inclination that this would be a failure? Did you think, well, maybe I was wrong? Or
no.
Did you know this had a few weeks shelf life?
No, I knew it. I knew it had some shelf life, but I knew this, and we brought this up before. To be able to be successful with the Warrior, you had to have somebody that knew how to book him.
Right.
And we didn't.
And when you're saying booking, you mean right for him, or do you mean the matches?
Right for him. again, WrestleMania 6 with he and Hogan was a tremendous match because Pat Patterson set it up. We didn't have a Pat Patterson.
Right.
So I knew it was going to be a flop. I was hoping it wouldn't because I wanted to do business with it, but I knew it would be a flop because WCW let guys do a lot of freestyling, much more than they did in the WWE.
Yeah. There's a theory that this lighting treatment with the strobes and all this and the house lights being down is to not show or highlight rather that he's not over. That the crowd had already started to fizzle a little bit, and so they're doing these wide dark shots with the lights to kind of camouflage the fact that the crowd is not into it.
Yeah, well, that sounds right to me. And it also kind of camouflaged that he's not as big as he used to be.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned that because a lot of people have wondered, why is he wearing the duster? Meltzer reported that he was not able to work here, which is what, I know what you're thinking. He was never able to work. But he was not able to work here because he had a torn bicep and a back injury. But the torn bicep meant that arm in particular was looking kind of shrunken.
Sure.
And he was conscious of this, so he wanted to wear the duster. And frankly, if your gimmick was your body and you're positioned to come out right after Scott Steiner, that's a smart deal to wear a jacket.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You are exactly right. And it would be odd why we positioned him after Scott Steiner, but we're talking the top of hour 2 here, right?
Yeah, looks like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So top of hour 2 now, we want the ratings points, so we bring out the Warrior. And he comes in and he does his stuff, which is, again, allowing him to freestyle. And you look, I saw many Ultimate Warrior pre-tapes in the back when I was doing WWE. And he was produced. And he redid a lot of his interviews until they got it right. And as they were going to WrestleMania 6, Vince would go back and produce him. Right now, there's no producing going on here. So this is what you get.
Yeah, and these promos are kind of long and rambling and not the best work of his career. And the fans are kind of lost in it. And the lights are still down. And they're trying to go heavy on effects. You know, smoke, pyro. A fan tries to jump in the ring, and Dillinger gets him.
Yeah.
This was pretty common during this time. Fans trying to jump in the ring, was it not?
Yeah, because it was a big show, and they wanted to be part of the show, be part of the action. And now what? Also, we're look, he's blowed up from doing a promo. He's wheezing and panting just from doing the promo. Here's another thing it just hit me. You know, we were talking earlier about the surreal feeling of Bret Hart. If we wanted Bret Hart to be such a big star back then, why didn't we put him in the ring do his promo? Why did we put Hogan in the ring, Warrior in the ring, but Bret Hart came down to the base of the set to talk to Gene? Right?
Yeah. I mean, do you think there's some theory to that
that Hogan didn't want him at the base of the, didn't want him to outshine him and his angle with Warrior? There could be.
So, but you think being in the ring makes a significant difference?
Yeah.
Really?
Absolutely, I do.
That's a little old school.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's the center point of your entire show. And you put a person in the ring. The WWE does that right now.
Right.
Any angle, the big angle they had, they do it in the ring. They don't do it over at the entranceway. They do some things.
Let's talk about ratings at the time, because ratings are setting records here for both the WWF and WCW. And very recently, the second most watched pro wrestling match in cable history happened. It drew a 6.77 rating. Over 5 million people watched it. The only thing that beat it was Hulk Hogan and Bill Goldberg doing the title switch from the Georgia Dome on July 6th. Do you want to guess who was in that match?
I have no idea who was in the match.
Lodi and Saturn against High Voltage.
What the? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what does that tell you about ratings?
The thing worth of shit.
You damn straight.
That is not really the metric that you should run your whole business on. If High Voltage versus Lodi and Saturn is second only to Goldberg Hogan.
Wow.
Lots of front office stuff going on in the company here. We should mention as well.
Okay.
Nick Lambrose, whose official title was Vice President of Business Affairs, left the company basically after losing a power play to Bischoff. And since Lambrose had a contract with Turner, he was just moved to another position. It was the executive position for Turner's attempted new football league venture. Now, of course, that never shook out. But we might have seen an XFL before the XFL had it actually done that. Do you remember what, if any, Nick Lambrose being moved, what effect that had on the company?
No, I don't remember Nick Lambrose.
Well, there you go. Terry Taylor was recently told to stay home.
I remember that.
That happened towards the end of August, and he had some sort of heat with a television producer named Annette Yoder. Do I have that name right? What happened there? What happened with Terry and Annette?
I don't know exactly what happened with Terry and Annette, but I do know that Annette Yoder had a lot of power at that time, an extreme amount of power.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she did. And you know in Bobby Heenan's book, the girl they talked about, Grey Poupon, that's her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Grey Poupon is Annette Yoder.
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's what Heenan always called her.
Cool.
Annette started out as a makeup girl, and now all of a sudden she had tremendous amount of power. Tremendous amount of power. Annette Yoder is the girl that walked out of the curtain to the set that told me to bury Mick Foley.
She told you to bury Mick Foley?
Well, that led to Butts in the Seats. She came out. She had her, I never forget her walking out. She always had this big folder of shit, maybe to make her look important. And she said, Eric wanted me to tell you that they put the belt on Cactus Jack and for you to really shit on it. And I leaned over, I said, did he really tell you that? She said, yes. All right. We're going to do it. So that's the story. Eric didn't, in my ear, tell me himself to say butts and seats. He did not come out to tell me. He sent Annette out to tell me. At least I think he did. Hell, shit. She could have been freestyling on her fucking own. And she told me to really make it sound like a shitty thing. And I came up with butts in the seats. But there you go. There's a story about the actual story behind that.
Well, we just saw Buff Bagwell come out and do a promo with Mean Gene where they're saying that now Scott Steiner has to go to the hospital. And of course, everybody is suspect of that claim, seeing what happened with Scott Steiner and Buff Bagwell in the ambulance when they used it to really just ambush Rick Steiner. So now we've got the Cat, and the Cat is going to be taking on Psychosis here. I got to tell you, I love both of these guys. I found the Cat to be entertaining. I'm not going to say his ring work was great, but he had a presence as a character. He could cut a promo. I mean, he stands out. You might not say that he's the world's best wrestler. I wouldn't disagree with that, but the dude was entertaining for what he was.
And that's what you look at that, kicking at a fan.
That's fun
Yes.
for what it is.
Absolutely kicking at a, get the fuck out of here.
And here's the other thing I think I liked most about Ernest. You could tell he's having fun.
Well, of course he is.
So if he's having fun, I'm inclined to think it's pretty fun myself.
Well, here's one thing that I can tell you about Ernest Miller that we all knew. He was really appreciative of what he was into. In other words, he was appreciative that he was making money and on TV and able to do a promo. He didn't let his ego take him away. Does that make sense?
He didn't take it too seriously.
Right.
He was a good guy.
Good guy. He knew that, man, I'm making money. I'm having a great time. And it came across. And of course, it does come across. Now now I'm thinking he turns and talks to the fan. I'm thinking he's going to call him some sort of Mexican racist name here or something, but he didn't. He stayed away from it.
Well, I'm sure you probably would.
No, I would not have.
Psychosis is one of my favorite luchadors. I know you don't like luchadors. Why don't you like Psychosis? That top rope leg drop was something else.
I like their moves for what they were, Conrad. I just didn't like them in the course of a match. Again, I'm old school.
He looks like a Power Ranger villain.
I'm old school. I would as soon see Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair 90 minutes in a cage, time limit draw, or as we said, Broadway, than I would a luchador match. Is there something wrong with that?
No.
Okay. I didn't think so.
Let me ask you this. This is, of course, 1998. Around this time, between 97 and 98, you would see lots of celebrity involvement in WCW,
Sure.
and including Malone, Rodman, lots of athletes.
Right.
Well, there was talk in the shows leading to this that McGuire, who's really setting baseball on fire, baseball had been in a real lull, but back in 98, Sammy Sosa and Mark McGuire just trading home runs left and right really brought a lot of renewed interest into baseball. There was talk, according to the Observer, that WCW trying to get McGuire to work a pay-per-view match.
Right. Well, he and Goldberg do a promo together?
They did, and it aired just a few weeks prior to this, I believe, where he went and visited him at a Marlins game.
Right.
But do you think there was ever going to be an opportunity for like a Goldberg and McGuire against Hogan and somebody else?
Yeah, there was, but McGuire
squashed it.
Sure he did. He came to his senses.
Well, because at that point, McGuire was one of the top athletes, in the world.
Yeah. I don't see why they didn't at least have him walk out to the ring.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
That would have been awesome. But a couple of things. McGuire needed a lot of money to do that. And number two, he didn't trust that his career would be the same afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could see how you would think that this could negatively affect you. But let me just freestyle. How fun would it have been to have Goldberg? Let's call it Starrcade.
Okay.
And we're going to do a rematch at Starrcade. Mm-hmm. Oh, Psychosis going up top. Give us the call here.
Okay. Ooh, off the chop. Flying body press. Ernest Miller is down. Psychosis selling his ribs. Turning up to his knees. Now, see, Psychosis doing a pretty good job of selling that shit. That's not bad.
Starrcade.
Sell something, motherfucker.
Starrcade 98 could have been, just freestyling, of course. Okay. Goldberg with the world title.
Ooh, this will drop kick.
In his corner, Mark McGuire.
Yeah.
And on the opposite corner, the rematch from the biggest match WCW had that year, Hulk Hogan challenging for the world title. And in his corner, Pete Rose.
Awesome.
Wouldn't that have been great?
That would have been awesome.
That would have been so good. You've got the dirty cheaters that everybody knows about.
Exactly.
And at this point, Pete Rose is doing what he can to make a buck.
Sure.
Not disparaging him, but he's already doing stuff with the WWF. Why not go ahead and get him over?
Why don't you and I hop the plane, go to Stanford, and talk to Stephanie?
Well, I don't think
we could book some shit, man.
That would have been good, though.
We could book some shit.
Imagine the mainstream publicity would have gotten from Mark McGuire on one side and Pete Rose on the other.
We had a lot of celebrities in the audience that we never did.
Hey, that's some manpower right there from Ernest Miller to just catch him.
You're not kidding. It is. Donnie Osmond came to one of our events. Did you know that?
And it was never shown on TV.
Never shown on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dennis Miller came to one of our events.
Dennis Miller is a huge wrestling fan.
Yeah.
I was hanging with Rick at WrestleMania in Dallas a few years ago, and he had an appearance right across the street from a stadium at like a wing restaurant or a seafood restaurant. And Dennis Miller just wandered over in the line.
My goodness.
To meet Ric Flair.
Wow.
Now, of course, they've met before, but
sure.
He's a wrestling fan and his son's a wrestling fan. And I just thought that was so cool that, a former cast member of Saturday Night Live.
Back when it was great.
Back when it was Saturday Night Live.
Exactly.
Just wandered over because he loved wrestling. Here we go. Psychosis, give us the call.
A long way for trying for the, what do you call that? That's why we had Tenay.
It was a top rope leg drop.
Okay. I know what it is, but what do you fucking call it?
Well, Bobby Heenan would have called it like a flying quesadilla.
Okay. And there's a spin wheel kick. 1, 2, 3. When Ernest Miller was wrestling, Eric Bischoff told me, he said, you need to learn these karate moves. You need to learn back leg front kick, spin wheel kick, side kick. He said, you need to look at them and learn them. So I tried to learn them.
Isn't it interesting that Bischoff wanted you to learn Ernest Miller's moves, but didn't care if you learned Psychosis's?
Says a lot, doesn't it?
Well, because I'll tell you what, I really do feel like Psychosis was criminally underrated in WCW. I know we said it about Super Callow earlier, but if Psychosis was in the WWF, man, there wouldn't have been a Taka Michinoku. He would have been the light heavyweight champion.
Well, okay. To make these guys more over than that, you needed to do some character development on these guys. You did. We had no character development on any of the luchadors except maybe Rey Mysterio Jr. and Conan.
Oh, here we go. I'm going to need some help here.
Okay.
Go ahead. Tell us what's going on, Tony.
Okay, right now, he's supposed to say something to Gene.
He is.
Alex Wright. He's supposed to say something to Gene, and now all of a sudden he's going to realize he needs to say something to Gene.
I think he's going to.
By the way, Gene, I should have said this when you left, when you were standing there. Now I'm saying it because I'm a dumb fuck.
Maybe he should paint himself up and crawl to the ring.
Yeah, as a demon.
I mean, tell me when he comes out here in his tights and a leather jacket, it doesn't cross your mind that that's Finn Balor.
It's Finn Balor.
I mean, he's European.
That's right.
He's a foot taller than Finn Balor, but you know what I mean.
Exactly. And actually, Finn Balor's a good worker. He's much better looking than Finn Balor, don't you think?
Well, I don't have a comment on that, but Finn Balor is one of the best wrestlers in the world.
There's no question.
And I don't think anybody ever said that about Alex Wright.
Yeah. No.
I mean, maybe Jim Barnett did.
Yeah, but he was a handsome guy. Look at the dimples on each side.
This is getting weird now.
No, I'm calling it the way I see it. It's not.
Well, your shorts are moving. I know everybody can't see you in real life. But.
Listen, my shorts never move. Even when I am top rope aroused, my shorts never move.
I was not ready for that.
Okay.
I was not ready.
All right. But he was a very handsome man, but he was fucking clueless. You know, I've started to watch the new stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes one of us.
Well, there's a couple of guys who are friends, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Huge shout out to Dolph Ziggler. He actually was sporting our Damn I Am Good shirt, which is available now at ProWrestlingTees.com/WHW. Inspired by the great Ole Anderson back in the mid 80s. And Dolph was actually rocking it on WWE.com for us. So shout out to Dolph for that.
Shout out to Dolph. Shout out to his buddy, Zach Ryder, who is rocking some of our shirts. Both great guys. Like watching their performances, like the stuff they do. So I've got a vested interest there. And of course, Arn Anderson in the background, you know, when I see a great match, I'm thinking, you know, Arn's probably putting
He's pulling
together.
the strings back there.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what the fuck we got here?
This is Chavo Guerrero Jr.
On a fucking
riding,
horse?
He's riding a hobby horse to the ring.
A
His name
hobby
is
horse.
Pepe. If you're not familiar with what that is, it is a stuffed horse head on a broomstick.
Mm-hmm.
And Chavo is getting it over here. And as a reminder, this is in response to some silliness otherwise in wrestling, where you would see like Al Snow talking to a styrofoam head.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Okay. Is that what this was in response to that?
Well, it felt that way to me as a wrestling fan. And that we're trying to get over inanimate objects.
Gee, who would
not named Larry Zbysko.
Who would ask? Cigar Store Indian.
Right.
Who would ask Chavo? Oh, good God.
Now, you're going to bag on Disco Inferno here, but I dug the Disco Inferno gimmick.
Yeah. Look, I did too. When the Disco Inferno first ever made an appearance at Center Stage, it was like a dark match, and the fans reacted to it. They absolutely reacted to it. They brought him out with some disco type music. I think they brought him out with originals Bee Gees Staying Alive music because it was a dark match, and everybody responded to it. I just say that because I love to give Glenn shit. I do. He likes he's into the business. He's got his podcast with Conan.
Keeping it 100. If you haven't checked it out, you should.
Right.
Conan and Disco are cool, and they make listening cool. So check it out if you haven't already.
I love to give him shit, though. I always did like Glenn.
Hey, everybody, it's Sean Mooney in the MLW Event Center, and there is a lot happening in the MLW universe this week, so let's get to it. We're just around the corner from MLW One Shot on Thursday, October 5th at Gilt Nightclub in Orlando. See Ricochet versus Shane Strickland, MVP versus Sami Callihan, UFC's Filthy Tom Lawler versus Olympian Jeff Cobb, Santana versus Mia Yim, and the return to the broadcast booth of our very own Tony Schiavone as he calls the action from MLW TV. Get your tickets at MLW.com right now. Meanwhile, over on the MLW Radio Network, be sure to catch Primetime with Hacksaw Jim Duggan and me, Sean Mooney. This week, it's all about the rise and fall of the WCW, and you'll hear it all, the good, the bad, and the insane, from the man who saw it happen, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. From Cesaro's Teeth to WCW mini movies, Marty and Sarah Love Wrestling covers all things busted this Thursday. Swing by if you're looking to laugh. Out now on What Happened When, Conrad takes Tony Schiavone down memory lane as they go in-depth on his time in the WWF. Each and every Tuesday, join MSL and Rich Bocchini on the MLW Radio Flagship Show as they look at the latest news from WWE, Impact, Japan, and much more. This week on Lucha Talk, the trio have a special episode after the tragic Mexican earthquakes. With no Lucha on tap at Arena Mexico and AAA at the Hard Rock, the guys have on Lucha Libre experts who live in Mexico for CMLL's Aniversario and more. And don't forget, Thursday night, October 5th, it's the return of Major League Wrestling with a stacked show. Get your tickets now, starting at just $15 at MLW.com. Folks, this event will sell out. Go to MLW.com right now and get your tickets to one of the most anticipated shows this fall. Now it's time to get back to your MLW Radio podcast.
Saturday night, October 7th, Bruce Pritchard is going to be in Detroit Rock City, and he's bringing his Dirty Dozen. He wants you to be a part of this exclusive experience where you get to hang out with Bruce, you get exclusive Dirty Dozen merch, and you get to ask all the questions you want, take all the pictures you want. Shoot, he'll even record a voicemail for you, record a video promo for you. Whatever you want, it's your time with the man, Bruce Pritchard. If you don't know what to do, all you have to do is jump onto paypal.me/Pritchard Show and drop $100. $100 gets you this exclusive experience. This isn't a meet and greet. This isn't a shake hand, take a picture. This is an actual hangout with Bruce Pritchard. And if you don't believe me, why don't you trust this guy?
Hey, before Dirty Dozen, I was too shy to sleep with any women. But I got to sit down next to Bruce, and he told me and he gave me confidence what to do, and now I sleep with all types of random women. Thanks, Bruce Pritchard.
Thanks, random guy. Now all you have to do once again is jump onto paypal.me/Pritchard Show. Drop that $100 and you, yes, you will be a part of Pritchard's Dirty Dozen, and you will have a night that you will never forget.
Check that beak out, man. We talk about Ric Flair. Take a look at that nose.
Chavo Guerrero, one of the more underrated performers in the business. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah. Love Chavo.
Do you think that he was...
Does he look angry there to you?
If Chavo had a different last name, would he have done better in the business, you think?
Yeah. I think that's a valid statement. There's a possibility that could have happened.
I guess I should clarify. Obviously, the Guerrero family is quite the wrestling heritage and one of the most prolific families in wrestling history. Question. But I feel like he's done a disservice because whether you mean to or not, you almost always wind up comparing him with Eddie Guerrero, who was incomparable.
Exactly.
I mean, Eddie Guerrero's a once-in-a-lifetime performer, and so, I mean, he's kind of in an unwinnable position here no matter how good he is. He's probably never going to be as good as Eddie Guerrero.
I agree. You're exactly right on all counts. And as we're seeing right here, he's tremendous. He's got great timing. He's got great look. He can sell. He's got great facial reactions. He's good. The kid can perform, and he's still performing.
You know, and one of the things that Disco did really well is Disco knew how to make the little things count.
Right.
And with every move, I mean, even with this horse, he picks it up and looks at it and then looks to the crowd and then looks back at it. Mm-hmm. He's trying to milk it. That's some old school Southern wrestling in him.
Yep. And also we need to make a point here that Mark Curtis is the referee here, and Mark right now is not doing well. I believe this was around the time where we all knew that he was getting sick. And talking about the guys who have a great sense of timing and know what to do. See how good he is? He was one of the great referees ever. He really was. He was in the league with
Tommy Young.
Thank you very much. Man, you got to be quicker with that. Lead you in that shit.
Well, I thought you were going to say Charles Robinson.
Okay, well, Charles Robinson is another good one, but to me, Tommy Young was always the best.
It's amazing the batch of referees you guys had here. You know, I mean, Mark Curtis is tremendous. Nick Patrick was very underrated, a very good referee. You know, of course, Charles Robinson's here. There's just lots of really, really good referees within the company.
Right. Just so you can just see how thin Mark is here, right? But anyway, back to the match. Two good performers. Both can sell very well. Both love the business. And both are good at calling spots without being seen. Ooh. I call that a head takedown. Is there any move name for that move?
Listen, I'm sure there is. You're gonna have to ask Rich at that MLW show this weekend.
Yeah, Rich knows all these moves, doesn't he?
Rich knows it all. He's gonna do the heavy lifting, and you're just gonna yell slap dick every now and again.
That's all I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
and then at the end of the show, I'm gonna say, we're out of time. We don't have tape machines.
Yeah,
but something's rolling, and we'll see you later. That's all I'm gonna do.
And then Court, can I get my check?
Exactly. And I'll get to see Nelson Swegler too, which is going to be pretty exciting. I mentioned Nelson last week.
Yeah, it was funny. I was watching some Primetime this week, preparing for my Bobby Heenan episode with Bruce Pritchard.
Yeah.
And there was a fun skit where they were at Nelson's house.
Oh, my God. Meanwhile, now look how far Disco's got to go. He didn't put him in the right place in the match, in the ring here. Ooh,
He made it.
He made it.
Disco's quite the athlete here.
Yeah.
Very underrated.
And a 2 count.
So let's talk about somebody who's not here. Chris Benoit has been out. He's been injured. And he's still probably a month away from returning.
Yeah.
But WCW, a few weeks prior to this, made him fly into the show and then wound up not using him. And Meltzer wrote that he was extremely unhappy.
Yeah.
Do you recall Chris expressing frustration with creative prior to the end? Of course, we all know he winds up leaving when Kevin Sullivan regains power in early 2000. But here in 98, do you know that he was already really frustrated with creative?
Yeah, he was. He was upset about how he was used and very upset with creative. And I remember when he was flown in, and I remember how upset he was that day. It's hard to talk about Chris, Conrad. How about that? Using the gimmick right in the side of the face.
Well, let's talk about something funnier then. How's
2,
that?
3. Very good. Nicely done, guys. And who the fuck is this?
An unmasked Juventud.
Juventud Guerrera. He's going to stooge him off. And now, as Juventud gets involved, well, he can do some stuff too, man. And the fans are buying this stuff. You see, they're kind of into it.
How could you not be into Hoovy?
Well, I'm talking about just fans love a run-in, right? They love a run-in. And I'm hoping this is going to lead to some sort of angle, but probably not.
I'm wondering what's going to happen to Pepe. I mean, I think that's what fans really care about.
Okay. I think right now we should have a Juventud.
Are you ready for this? Check this out.
Oh, nicely done. And actually, I got to give Craig Leathers props here. He's switched to another camera at the perfect time.
Disco Inferno nailed a drop kick on Juventud. One of the better looking drop kicks we'll probably see.
Yeah.
So we're off to commercial here, and we're coming back to a really tremendous piece celebrating the history of the Four Horsemen all the way back to 85, the original Ole Anderson version and everything in between, including Jeff Jarrett. So lots of fun angles here, them attacking Dusty in the parking lot, you know, the career highlights of Ric Flair, of course, and all of his world title wins, Malenko beating up Ultimo Dragon, Mongo taking out guys' knees. I mean, they're really, really selling the history and the legacy of the Four Horsemen and really highlighting who the current guys are, recapping Ric Flair's return to WCW just 2 weeks prior in Greenville. And what a night that was, September 14th, 1998. I'm sure we'll cover that at some point in long form. But the really fun thing about that show was the promo that Rick did with Eric Bischoff, the fire me, I'm already fired business. And now that sets up naturally a Ric Flair, Eric Bischoff feud. And that's probably what we're going to see more of here. Even though we're in Rochester, it's still Horseman country. Everywhere was it not?
It was. Horsemen were over. This was a great moment. Gene Okerlund did a great job of doing the intro and selling it. And again, if you're a star, Conrad, you come to the ring to do your promo. And that's what they should have had Bret Hart too. This is quite an entrance. And you're right. Go back to that video piece. I'm not so sure who did the video piece, but I have a feeling that it was Kemper Rogers as an editor and Neil Pruitt as a producer. Keith Mitchell could have been involved in that as well, but that was well done. And here's another thing too. This is back when we were kind of doing our own stuff, and Turner Home Entertainment was not involved in it. I got a question on Twitter recently. Who was the voiceover guy for all the pay-per-views? Was it somebody that you hired? No, it was some jackoff that Turner Home Entertainment hired that didn't make it seem authentic. So we were doing our own stuff there. It was a great video, and this is a great return. Great setup here.
So you've got all the Horsemen coming out here, including Arn Anderson. Of course, the Horsemen at this point are Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit, Steve Mongo McMichael, and the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And the angle here, of course, is Flair versus Bischoff. And if you recall, the prior Thursday Thunder edition, we saw Stevie Ray get involved with Ric Flair in the Four Horsemen. And he was, the subject of what we're about to see. I would imagine, if memory serves, this is where they try to press charges on Ric Flair.
Yeah, they try to press charges on Flair. Stevie Ray, here he comes. And Doug Dillinger comes out as well. And they're going to try to press charges, and they're going to try to get him thrown out of the building, basically.
So you've got Doug Dillinger, the head of WCW security, and they've done a pretty cool angle leading up to this, where, it's Bischoff versus Flair, and Doug Dillinger is kind of caught in the middle.
Right.
Because he is a longtime friend of Flair and another longtime resident of Charlotte. And now they've got all the local police here in Rochester here to press charges on Ric Flair for felonious assault.
Felonious assault.
Are these the most generic cop uniforms of all time?
They really are. And they all come in, grabbing their piece. See them? Hanging on to their piece, so to speak.
I don't think it's the same way Klondike Bill hung on to his.
No, he did not. He hung on with his piece with two hands.
Good for him.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this Flair Bischoff feud?
I didn't think it would ever go anywhere, would it?
Well, I know that the 2 week, it went somewhere. They wrestled at Starrcade that year, but the return, Meltzer wrote, the reason Ric Flair's return to World Championship Wrestling on Nitro in Greenville exceeded everyone's imagination is because there was nothing ever in wrestling to compare it with. If there was ever any one moment that firmly established who the greatest performer of modern time, if not all time, was, if not the initial huge pop, but the deafening roar that wouldn't stop. Flair had a moment reserved for few athletes in history, none of whom are wrestlers, not even Inoki or El Santo, the modern equivalent of the day when a dying Lou Gehrig came to the Yankee Stadium and talked about being the luckiest man alive.
Holy shit.
Quite a response from Dave Meltzer about Ric Flair's return. And here we're seeing a continuation of the angle where they're trying to press charges. Flair's out of there, and they're trying to build towards a pay-per-view, which never really made any sense.
Right.
That you would use one of the greatest of all time in an in-ring match against Eric Bischoff at your biggest pay-per-view.
And I understand that, but you and I are watching this, and hopefully we got all of our listeners watching this as well. Bischoff is a pretty damn good heel.
Oh, he's one of the best heels, but it feels like, Flair should have had a match with someone and Bischoff been the second on the outside.
Right. They should have set it up. I don't know if they set it up this way or not. They should have had a 6-man tag with Bischoff on one end and Flair on the other. And every time Flair tagged in, Bischoff ran.
Something like that.
Yeah, set it up right. So,
as opposed to, I know you're the greatest wrestler ever, but look at my karate kicks.
Exactly.
We should mention around this same time, the movie Wrestling with Shadows was about to be released. Do you recall Wrestling with Shadows?
Wrestling with Shadows?
It's the Bret Hart movie when he got screwed in the WWF. Did you watch that?
Yes, I did. Later.
What'd you think of that?
I thought it was pretty good movie, but I watched it, not at this time. I watched it after I was out of the business.
We should mention the same night that Flair came back in Greenville, that episode of Nitro was probably one of the best in a long, long time. You had Bill Goldberg versus Sting in the main event for the very first time. And you also had Billy Kidman win the Cruiserweight title, beating Juventud Guerrera. And that really kind of cemented Kidman as a star. and he would get quite a push for a while here. So Kidman's actually getting bigger reactions on house shows and television tapings, believe it or not, than Bret Hart and the Ultimate Warrior, because of the way he had been presented on television with his matches and such. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Billy Kidman later in the show.
Plus, he's banging Tori, so good for him.
So he's a hell of a closer.
Ooh,
how would you describe Stevie Ray's gear here?
It looks like kind of like a little what Buff Bagwell had before he painted it.
Here's the best part of the show. Chris Jericho with his Jerichoholic Ninja and his Jericho personal security.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got the cruiserweight title. I'm sorry, the television title around his waist.
Yep.
And he's got a shirt that says Jericho 1, Goldberg 0. And to catch you up, Jericho's been calling Goldberg out since July. Of course, here we're in September. And the match still has not happened the way Jericho has been campaigning and thought that it would. Because the idea was, hey, let's let him build towards a pay-per-view that actually, or a pay-per-view match or a Nitro main event that means something. Of course, we know that never really happened. And it was just a monumental waste of time. And that led to some real life issues with Jericho and Goldberg.
This is a pretty good entrance. This is well done with the steady cam and everything. This is what they call now in television, the West Wing entrance. You know that? Or the West Wing walk and talk. And look at Ralphus. Looks like he had surgery on his gut, doesn't it? Look at that bit. Look at that. All right, I'm not going to look anymore.
He's just fat. So let's run through this. Ralphus was a truck driver. He drove the ring truck. Is that right?
He drove one of the trucks. We had a lot of trucks. But yes, he drove the ring truck.
And Kenny Powers on the left. What did he do for y'all?
This had to be, you know, as these guys are walking in, I'm thinking that these have to be just more drivers, okay? But we're ready to see them take some bumps. And I just wonder who the fuck these guys were. I mean, Ralphus didn't take a bump, but these guys are going to take some pretty heavy shots right here. So I don't know who the fuck these guys were. I don't know where they got them from.
That's a great question. If you know who the other two tag-alongs besides Ralphus were or what their roles were, please tweet us. He is at Tony Schiavone 24. I am at Hey, it's Conrad.
Yeah.
I feel like we should mention that Goldberg here is going to come out with the world title, of course, and they've done a fake Goldberg. That's who Jericho actually got the win against. Was a fake Goldberg, and we see him here. And this is an independent worker from Georgia. I believe his name was Johnny Attitude.
Okay.
And he committed to the gimmick. He shaved his head to look like Goldberg, and I believe he even got a legit Goldberg tattoo.
There it is.
To look like the real Goldberg.
Absolutely.
What'd you think of this angle?
I like this angle. I was into anything Goldberg did.
I kind of dig it too. I thought it was well done for what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. And Goldberg comes in, and great reaction when you see, look at this. Great reaction from Jericho. Now, these two guys, look at this. I'm thinking, if these two guys are truck drivers, what the fuck are they? They're going, you know, we're talking about a guy who doesn't know how to throw a working punch, right? Watch this. Oh, and he, on his side, not on his back, on his fucking side.
Hey guys, you love this show, and so do I. In fact, hundreds of thousands of wrestling fans each month listen to What Happened When Mondays with Tony Schiavone. And you can advertise to those fans, and it's probably more affordable than you think. Whether you sell a wrestling-related product, or a promoter, or a vendor, or if you want to promote an upcoming show or appearance, we here at What Happened When have advertising packages designed to fit almost any budget. Think about it. Where else could you get a platform to speak to this many fans at the same time and get that much exposure to the audience that you are seeking than right here? Contact me, Matt Kuhn, by email at matt@mattkuhn.com. That's MATT@MATTKOON.com to find out what we can do for you. Or reach out by Twitter. I'm at Matt Kuhn Music. Help us help you find the audience that you've been looking for. Thanks. I look forward to hearing from you.
Let's go ahead and tell you we're not going to be doing a poll this week. Instead, we're going to do something fun that a lot of you have wanted us to do for a while. We put it on a poll once, but it didn't win. But we've made an executive decision to just roll with it And next week, we're going to watch Ready to Rumble. So if you'd like to watch the movie this week, by all means, feel free. Go ahead. And then you can watch it again with us next week. It's going to be our wrestling version of Mystery Science Theater 3000, right?
Yes, it is.
So that's what we're going to be doing next week. Go like us on Facebook and Twitter if you haven't already. He is at Tony Schiavone 24. I am at Hey It's Conrad. And you can keep up with the show at WHW Monday. If you've got questions about Ready to Rumble, look for our graphic. We're going to go ahead and throw that up for you early this week, and we'll be ready to answer those next week.
I just wonder why. I'm going back and thinking if Bret Hart's a star, and I know there's been a common theme here during the show, why even Diamond Dallas Page comes to the middle of the ring. And this is, I think, during his heyday here.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, DDP's kind of breakout year was 1997, but here in 1998, you know, there's a rumor that Dusty was even campaigning to have Goldberg have his first loss to DDP at Halloween Havoc because the Diamond Cutter was so over that it was believable that if Goldberg was going to lose, it would be to the Diamond Cutter.
That was a hell of a point. And as we know, Page and Goldberg ended up having a hell of a match.
Well, but not everybody saw it. You can hear that whole
Exactly.
deal on our episode, Halloween Havoc 1998. It's available now in the archives. And the way DDP was able to earn this match against Goldberg for the world title at Halloween Havoc is he won War Games. Much different setup than maybe we all remember. 3 teams of 3. And DDP was the winner there. So they're going to start putting over, you know, a potential match with Goldberg here at Halloween Havoc 98. And I feel like I should mention, because I don't know when we'll work this in if I don't now, Raven, Jericho, and Disco were all set to appear on a dating show called The Dating Game. Do you remember that?
I remember The Dating Game.
Well, so Raven, Jericho, and Disco were there. If you were to do that show with Tom Zink, Rey Mysterio, and Medusa, who would win your heart?
Oh, Medusa would.
Well, of course.
I've been in touch with Deborah a lot this week. Did I tell you that?
I can't wait to hear more about this.
Well, no, we've been, she was on my radio show, and I had her on, and I said, you know, Deuce, we haven't talked that much. We've been texting back and forth, and I just thought I'd let you know it's great talking to you. She said, I'm sorry, were you saying texting or sexting? Because that's what we've been doing.
So let me just say, you said Deborah there for a minute, and I know that's her real name, but
Yeah.
just for a minute, I thought you were saying Mongo's wife.
No.
Okay.
No. But you know, Deuce, and so we've been in contact. My dog's been sick, and she's really big into animals. So she's actually been texting me every day, checking on my dog.
I mean, that's nice.
I don't know why I left at that. Checking on my dog, not my hog, my dog. And
why would she check on your hog?
I don't know, but I just love her. I would pick Medusa. I think the way it stands right now, I would pick Medusa over anybody.
Look, let me mention that the week prior to the Nitro we're covering right here, do you want to guess what the main event was? Guess who's in it. Just freestyle who's in the main event of the Nitro leading to the Nitro we're covering now.
The main event would have been La Parca and Juventud Guerrera against the Disco Inferno and Diamond Dallas Page.
On one side, you've got Kevin Nash and Lex Luger.
Okay.
That's pretty big time.
Yeah.
And they're going to take on the Giant. And do you want to guess who the Giant was tagging with? Stevie Ray.
Really?
Yes. And Meltzer wrote, one of the reasons for the Stevie Ray push is they want both Stevie Ray and Booker T to be near the top when, you want to guess? The Bobby Walker case goes to court.
Of course.
So it's a little CYA action. What do you
Yeah.
think of DDP going through the crowd and coming in through the crowd like this?
I always thought it was fucking dangerous. I mean, it's great. It looks good. The visual's good, but you know, a couple of things can happen. You can get hurt. A fan can get hurt, and then what happens there, right?
Right.
Lawsuits, things. I know Dillinger was really against this stuff.
So let's see what we got here. We've got Scott Hall coming to the ring, and in tow with him is Vincent,
who's got his drink, and he's not going to let him have a drink. Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
It is. It is absolutely ridiculous on many levels.
Do you reckon that Vincent went down to the Olive Garden to get that drink made? I have it on good authority. They make chocolate martinis there. In the background, we see Wildcat Willie.
Yeah.
And we haven't talked about old Wildcat Willie very much on the show here. Can you explain to everybody what the fuck a Wildcat Willie was?
Well, Wildcat Willie was our mascot, much like the mascot, like the San Diego Chicken, or, a lot of minor league baseball teams now, and even major league teams.
Scott just flipped the fan off on camera, by the way. Go ahead. Didn't mean to cut you off.
He didn't give a fuck. And so this was a part of this. And Wildcat Willie was a guy that when we were in commercial break, much like DJ Rand became, and the Nitro girls, to keep the fans entertained, throw out some T-shirts, take a picture with the fans. Fans love this stuff. They love mascots. They do. They like to get their picture taken with it. I thought it was a pretty novel idea. It wasn't a gobbledygooker, but it was damn good.
Hypothetically, what type of breakfast do you think Scott Dickinson likes the most?
Biscuits with mustard.
That's probably a pretty good guess.
Or French fried taters.
Let's pass some taters right back. Mm-hmm.
Tell me a motherfucker don't look like Sling Blade. How did I never see that?
No. And he's
Scott Hall's in there been drinking. Mm-hmm. Can't be drinking in the match.
Got to put Scott Hall in the nervous hospital.
Now, let's process this.
Okay.
How over is Billy Kidman here, man? One of the higher rated segments. He's got signs in the crowd.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 2 weeks into a really good push here. Fans are into it, and he is your cruiserweight champion. And he's going to take on Scott Hall, who is a tag team champion, but still.
Yeah.
What in the world why?
Well, we put him against Hogan eventually, didn't we?
Well, but here's the difference. Well, I'll let you see the difference in a minute.
Okay.
I'm going to freestyle that. This is Kevin Nash's idea.
Okay.
All
right.
Maybe that's out of place.
You might be right.
We'll see what happens. You want to call this match?
Okay. Well, listen, Billy Kidman, he's got the look, man. He really does. He's young. He's
looks like Ralph Macchio with a weight kit.
And now Scott Hall. Does Scott still have these? Yep, he does. I was saying he still had his toothpick in his mouth. So he does the toothpick gimmick. Oh, and now Billy Kidman is getting on Scott Hall about drinking. So this is the whole thing here, right? Getting on Scott Hall about drinking, and Scott Hall now is pissed off. There you go. Good stuff there. What is it? I was going to say, what is this Scott has on his trunk? But he has Too Sweet on the back. Oh, my God. Scott could really punch, buddy. Slap. Kidman trying to get up. Vincent down below. And Scott Hall with a knife-edge chop back in the corner. And now Scott is mimicking Billy Kidman. Right in the center of the ring.
Do you think The Rock borrowed a lot of his punching style from Scott Hall?
Could have, yep. Big Beal all the way across the ring. And now Scott says, I want a drink.
Vincent's negotiating the drinks.
Yeah. And now Billy Kidman rolls him up in a 1 and a 2. And a 2 count. And my question is, if you want to keep Scott away from drinking, why are you holding a drink in your hand? Right?
Well, I think it's an incentive. Like when my dog takes a deuce outside and doesn't do it on the rug.
You're right.
I give him a little treat.
Okay. I was hoping to give him bourbon or anything. Oh,
those will be the dogs at your house with Jim Beam and
yes,
Lois.
It was. Fighting through the hair to get to the Jim Beam. Oh, and down goes Billy. Kidman takes a great bump here. And now Hall just laying him in. Get off the ropes, says Scott Dickinson, the referee.
Get off them ropes.
Let's get pulled back. And now Vincent will paintbrush Billy Kidman.
He breadsticked him.
Breadsticked him? Yes. All the breadsticks and salad you can eat. And back down goes Kidman once again. You're watching WCW Monday Nitro. Billy Kidman in the corner. And following him in is Scott Hall. And you know what? The fans are, although they're into Kidman, and Scott Hall's one of the big performers, they're really not into this match, are they?
Well, because what is there to be into? You've got a giant just destroying a smaller man, and I don't know. It feels like they're taking all the wind out of Kidman's sails.
I see what you're saying. So you say this was booked by Kevin Nash too?
I'm not saying he booked it. I don't know. I wasn't.
You're
there.
freestyle.
I'm freestyling because otherwise it doesn't make any sense. Why, if you've got this great roster? I mean, for instance, Juventud earlier did a run in and was given a pile driver, and he was right out of there.
Right.
To me, let's have a rematch for the title. I mean, if we're really, you got some cruiserweights just laying around, very talented performers.
Right.
Let's pick one and let Kidman kind of showcase what he can do. How would you describe this move he's doing here? The submission move that Hall has on Billy Kidman.
This will be a hair abdominal stretch. The only thing I can come up with right now.
I hope Rich is doing better than that this Thursday.
I'm going to be into it this Thursday. I promise you.
Oh, so you're not into this?
No, I am into it, but I'm trying to figure out, we're doing it in the past. I'm trying to figure out here as I'm calling this where we're going to go. And Kidman over the top. Great move by Kidman. Oh, but a choke slam.
The size difference between Hall and Kidman is staggering.
I understand that, but, Kidman is taking some hellacious bumps and doing a great job of selling these bumps. So I can kind of understand why he's in this. And now as they fight for the drink on the outside. And
Scott Hall wrestles the beverage away from Vincent.
And Vincent goes down. Kidman's behind him. Scott's not worried about it. He wants another chug of whatever it is. And Kidman, nicely done. Into the crowd goes the beer. And here comes Kidman back. One of the great high flyers, Billy Kidman up top. And a missile drop kick. Scott Hall's down. Scott Hall's down. And a bulldog from the top. Would he try to pin him there after those two moves?
Nope.
Up on top again. And a flying crossbody press. 1, 2, and a 2 count. I think we're doing a good job of showcasing some of Kidman's stuff. And Kidman's fight. Wanting to come back. Determination. Down he goes. Hall picks him up. Over the top he goes. But Scott's, I guess, 2 out of it to make a cover. Kidman trying to sell. Scott saying that's it. And here comes Billy Kidman once again. You remember the finish of this match?
I do.
He just goes over Kidman just with his...
Let's not give a spoiler to those watching at home.
Well, I was trying to figure out where they're going here. Wow, jackknife powerbomb. And Scott 1, 2, only a 2 count. What was that? What the hell was that? What?
He was going for the razor's edge, and Kevin was trying to reverse it and slam his head down between his legs. It didn't happen that way, but they pretended it did.
Okay. It just looked like he flopped over for a 2 count. Which is, okay, here comes the razor's edge now. But we weren't allowed to call it the razor's edge, right?
It was the outsider's edge.
The outsider's edge. Thank you very much. Got him down. Great move by Hall.
You ready?
Yes. 1, 2, 3.
What's the point?
What you're saying is, why have your cruiserweight champion do a job?
Why, if you're building the guy up and he's got some momentum, why squish him to a guy doing a drunk angle?
Right.
I know he's bigger. We got that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's a valid point, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a valid point. Absolutely valid point.
I mean, it feels like you're reminding the crowd, hey, he's good, but he's not big. So
they could have put Juventud in that spot, right?
Or
anybody.
I mean,
right.
Listen, let him wrestle Disco. Let him wrestle Chavo. Any of those guys.
Right. Okay. But let me ask you this. In the course of a 2-hour show, if Kidman is over and here's their thinking here. Maybe one of their thinkings here. If Kidman is over and we're at a quarter hour, why not bring Kidman out? Because the fans think they're going to see something good. He has that star power, they think.
But what value is his the next week now that you've just shown everybody that?
Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with all that. But Kidman went out, did a good job. Got to give Billy credit.
By the way, I'm not disparaging Scott Hall. I love Scott Hall. I think he's one of the most underrated performers in the history of the business. However, it was not necessary to feed him Billy Kidman right here.
Is that what Meltzer said too?
Oh yeah, he probably wrote something.
Yeah,
about that.
I'm sure he did. But I agree, and of course, we do a lot of armchair booking here.
Oh sure,
which is fine. But if you look back on it, you agree.
Let's do a couple of quick hits here.
All right.
NBC had recently filmed in this month, maybe 2 weeks prior to this, exposed pro wrestling's greatest secrets, and they were going to air this on November 1st. Do you remember seeing this?
Do not.
Harley Race was involved, and they're showing you all the behind the scenes of things you're not supposed to show, how the magician does his tricks. And Harley Race being involved had to be something that shocked and upset a lot of people in the business.
Right.
Jackie Chan was in negotiation, or at least discussion, to be the next major celebrity to be involved in WCW. Do you remember hearing about Jackie Chan?
No, that was way above my pay grade. And again, I don't read the dirt sheets.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I just mentioned it because I know you knew.
I mean, I didn't read the dirt sheets.
You knew about Mark McGuire.
Right.
So I thought maybe Jackie Chan. Now look who this is.
Wow.
The British Bulldog, and they're allowed to call Davey Boy Smith that here. Davey Boy is, I believe, struggling with some addiction problems at this point.
Yeah.
And you can tell he's not looking like his normal self.
He's not.
Physically. And we know what's going to happen. He would be one of the many guys who would be injured in this trap door situation with the Warrior. What was the talk backstage when this trap door continually hurts guys?
Well, the talk backstage is why in the fuck are we doing it?
Right.
That's number one. And also, there's a thought too. I'm not saying that any guys were faking legit injuries. But back then, if you got injured, you were taken care of.
Right.
So it's a good way to make some money without having to do any work.
So he's going to be taking on Alex right here. I feel like I should mention this trap door because there's rumor and innuendo out there that at one point when they're hiding all these guys under the ring and using the trap door for all the Warrior nonsense, at one point when guys are hiding under the ring, Kurt Hennig finds himself under there with a few other guys. And, you got to be under there a while.
Yeah, he took a shit, right?
He takes a shit.
Right.
And it's apparently so foul that the other two guys under there throw up.
Yeah.
Did you hear this story?
Yes, I've heard this story. That's classic Kurt Hennig, isn't it?
How does a story like that make its way to the back? Like,
well, I think it's pretty apparent if guys come back and they're sick and they're puking, they're probably really pissed off at Kurt. And they talk about it, and Kurt laughs about it, or it's just another Kurt Hennig rib.
Supposedly, the way they prepared for such a situation like this is they would have a television, a small television monitor under there,
under the ring,
so the guys could kind of keep their cues. They might have some bottles of water or Gatorade or whatever,
right?
And then they would have a bucket. So if you needed to take care of business, you could in the bucket.
Sure.
How do you do that in the bucket if you're on your stomach underneath the ring? Are you pooping sideways? Are you like on your side pooping?
It depends on how big you are. You just kind of take a squat and
you could squat under the ring.
Sure, I think you could.
Kurt Hennig, you're saying, could squat under the ring and do
How
this.
do you think? You think he pooped up in the air?
Well, no, I'm just thinking he laid on his side and pushed it out. I mean, I know we're getting really mechanical, but it's an Alex Wright British Bulldog match. I think we'll be okay.
I do understand, and by now, poor Davey Boy Smith's already blown up just with a hammerlock.
I think, based on the crowd reaction, at one point he looked at Alex Wright and did a crotch chop and said, "Finger licking." Under the ring, though, let's get back to this. When they give him this bucket, do you think they're also giving him a roll of toilet paper?
I would hope they would. Because, I mean...
Well, unless there was a clean break, you could be in a situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Why would you... And I do know that, God, I had no idea that this episode would come to this. But why would you wait? Why would you have to take a shit under the ring? I do understand when you
if you got sick. I mean, it's not...
Okay.
If you had an upset stomach. I mean, I don't think it's something where you're like, well, I just ate. I could shit now, or I could wait and do it under the ring. I don't think you can wait and do it under the ring.
Well, we're wondering what they would do. Is this going to be like a surfboard maneuver here?
I don't know. It looks like something Jim Barnett's practiced on Alex Wright.
Oh, and the fans react to that. Great maneuver. Oh, going up and down with it. 1, 2. Who got pinned that time? Davey Boy almost pinned himself. Now Alex Wright. Into the side of the head. Great job of selling there by Davey Boy. So now, has Davey Boy been hurt with the trapdoor here?
I don't think so. I don't think he's been hurt yet.
Okay.
But it's coming.
Yeah, okay.
What did you know about Davey Boy's addiction problems?
Just from what I heard.
You never saw or witnessed him?
No.
Out of sorts?
Out of sorts? Yeah.
You see him fucked up?
Right. I've seen him. I've seen them all seemingly fucked up.
I think
I didn't see anybody. I didn't see anybody shoot a needle. I never saw anybody smoke a joint in the backstage area, do lines of cocaine. Was that running rampant back in the backstage area back then?
I don't know.
Is that well reported back then?
I believe that his addiction was painkillers and such.
Sure. Right.
So I'm guessing that the trapdoor injury has just happened.
Right. And Alex Wright on the top. 1, 2, says Billy Silverman. And a real lousy kick out that time. But here now, Davey Boy is, if he's on painkillers right now, he's not in a good way here. Look at this. But he makes sure he pulls up his tights. They all pulled up their tights when their belly started to flap over.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, that's the real reason. I mean, nobody wants to be made to look less than.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Bulldog has obviously looked as good as you can possibly look at different points in his career.
Yeah, it really is.
Maybe not so much here.
Wow. That was dangerous. Over the top rope, could have gone on the outside. Alex Wright wasn't a bad performer.
No.
He really was not.
We have fun with him here on the show.
Yeah, we sure do.
But he was a good-looking guy. He knew how to wrestle. If you're trying to grow your European presence at all, it makes sense to have a guy like him around.
Terrible ref bump. You could see that one coming. And there's no referee to make a count. My God, where's the referee? Who's coming in? Anybody? They're probably asking people in the back, you want to do a run-in?
It's funny that as soon as the ref goes down, the whole crowd is conditioned to stand up and look towards the entrance.
Oh, and here comes Charles Robinson. We'll let everybody know Charles was 60 years old back then.
Yeah, Charles today, as we're talking, is only 79 years old.
Isn't it great?
And he's still making towns.
Yes, and he looks great.
He wears knee pads under his pants.
Oh, my goodness. 1, 2, 3. What the fuck? Okay, we had 2 referees and a 2 count.
No, it was a 3 count.
It was? Oh, okay. I thought it was a 2 count. They kicked out.
They did this finish 2 years prior in the WWF with Shawn Michaels and the British Bulldog. And Bulldog was probably in a different state of mind at the time.
Okay.
So that match was a lot better. But, it was with Shawn Michaels and not Alex Wright.
Yeah, and no one's buying this finish at all.
No, I don't think anyone gives one shit about this.
No, not at all. Reversal into the ropes. So we'll do it again and over the top. Pull up the britches. Make sure the gut is not over the top. Get back in, you motherfucker. The referees are arguing. I thought it was a false count on both ends. I completely missed it. And I probably missed it that night as well. As a matter of fact, I'm probably guessing I wasn't even told this was going to be the finish. And now look at the instant replay once again. Referee takes a terrible bump. He's down. And 1, 2. See, he got his shoulder up, and that's what screwed me up there, Conrad. British Bulldog got his right shoulder up when the referee was counting. 1, 2. See that? They both got their shoulders up. They both got their shoulders up in a 2 count. I see where it is now. I understand. I got it. Next. The fuck? Hey, if you want your own Nitro party, send a postcard or send a video to 1 CNN Center, P.O. Box 60, Atlanta 30303. And we'd love to see your Nitro party videos. We're going to host a Nitro party at your house. Did you apply for this, Conrad?
I did not. I never did. Did you ever attend a Nitro party?
No, never went to one.
I feel like we should do Nitro parties for the podcast and, let people book you to come to their house.
Well, you can book me to come to WrestleMania. and I might bring Spice with me, baby.
If you're bringing Spice, I'll come along.
Okay.
Let's talk about Bret Hart, because we're going to see the reason that this show won the poll.
Right.
Is the match that we're going to get in a minute with Bret Hart and Hulk Hogan. But I feel like we should just mention here that there was talk in the Observer that Bret Hart was being strongly considered for a spot in the Horsemen. Do you remember that?
I do not.
That feels like, based on his, ability to perform, that makes a lot of sense.
To
Him
me,
being in the Horsemen feels kind of weird. Obviously, it never happened, but
right.
Would you have been for that movie?
Yeah, I think it would have been good. I think it would have been pretty good booking because of the star that he is, and because of how we position the Horsemen to be the elite group. Right.
Right.
It would make as much sense as Mongo in there, wouldn't it? Even more so.
Well, I think a lot of people were even assuming that he might even replace Mongo.
Okay.
Next up, we've got Bryan Adams. How would you describe Bryan Adams' facial hairstyling here?
It looks like he shaved his goatee.
Looks like he lost a bet. That's what it looks like.
Looks like what?
He lost a bet.
Okay. But it also looks like he took a Sharpie and just colored it in, doesn't it? He colored in some I don't know, strikes of lightning bolts there.
Do you really think that's lightning bolts he's going for?
And I don't know.
I feel like he accidentally put the wrong guard on and got it too close. And then was like, fuck it, I'm committed. I'm going to try to level up the other side now. So now we've got a Halloween Havoc promo.
Yeah.
And Halloween Havoc, I feel like, at least in my opinion, became like the WCW pay-per-view for a long time.
I agree. We had some good things there. But did this thing at all sell shit? No. Good graphics.
I mean, if it's
got a sponsor.
Yeah, if it's what Snickers wants, then roll with it.
Okay, I
Having
got
Snickers as a sponsor for WCW is a pretty big deal, right?
Yeah, of course. Having any sponsor is a big deal. I mean, you obviously have got the numbers to warrant a sales team or a marketing department to go out and sell this shit, and they did their job.
Do you feel like Slim Jim sponsoring Halloween Havoc really kind of, set the precedent for WCW moving
Sure
forward?
Did. Absolutely. But we know why Slim Jim's was what the fuck is this?
It's Kevin Nash.
Who's the kid?
I believe that's Joe C. from Kid Rock.
Really?
I could be wrong. So Kevin Nash here is the leader of the Wolfpack.
You sure that wasn't just a kid run in?
Could have been.
Because he's not going to the ring with him, right?
You know what's funny is that may have actually been
that was
just a kid.
That was just a kid out of the stands.
That's awesome. I forgot we're not in Michigan, we're in New York.
Right.
So yeah, that's a kid out of the stands.
Fuck.
And I think your line was actually something like, you know what? When you kick Doug Dillinger out, this is what happens.
Oh, well, there you go. Damn it, Schiavone sold it well. And look at the response here, man. Look at the response here to Kevin Nash.
I really wish that was Joe C. So here we go. We've got Kevin Nash and Bryan Adams.
Interesting story. I talked to Vince Russo recently, and Vince said, you remember when we were going down, how shitty our stuff was and how people hated our stuff? I went, yes. He said, it's not half as shitty as what they're putting on TV now. And I said, you're probably right, because some of the stuff they put on is shitty. But then again, I understand you can't always hit a home run with everything you book.
Yeah, and it's a lot of times I look at this stuff and I say, this wasn't for me. Not in terms of it's not to my taste. I'm saying I'm not always the desired audience. As a 36-year-old man, a lot of the stuff they're going to be cranking out, they're going to have some segments that are for little kids.
Sure.
And you've got to keep that in mind, that every now and again, we as adults, I mean, I'm guilty of this too, we forget, we're kind of watching a children's show here. That's not to say the whole program is dedicated to that, but certainly some characters, angles, storylines, things like that. I mean, they're trying to cater to that younger audience. So I just keep that in mind when I'm watching it, because a lot of the stuff that I hate, my 13-year-old daughter thinks is the coolest thing ever.
Sure. And now here's Kevin Nash laying it in. Boy, Kevin Nash was so fucking over, buddy.
What's your favorite Bryan Adams match?
I don't have a favorite Bryan Adams match.
Bryan Adams made a living in the wrestling business at a high level for a long time.
Sure did.
And I can't say that I was really ever a fan outside of his run with Demolition. I loved him as a part of Demolition because I love the Demolition gimmick.
Right.
But outside of that, I could never really get behind Bryan Adams.
No, he wasn't a good talker. He was just big, right? Yeah, I mean, that's all. He just and he tried to, to do a few things with his look, like you talked about these funky sideburns he had, but he just was big. That was all.
Let's talk a little bit about Sandman. Sandman at the time had recently signed a 3-year contract with WCW, and it was going to be for $200,000 a year. I found it interesting when you guys signed him here. Wow. Bryan Adams out of the ring, over the top to the floor.
That? Yeah.
Right after Kevin Nash took a big tumble. These guys they're pulling at all the stops.
Well, yeah, for big men they are. And of course they're giving, Kevin's giving Adams some things here to do. But again, just what's carrying this match is the star power of Kevin Nash.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Kevin Nash carried himself like a star here in a big way.
Yes, of course he did.
His promos got him over. He just presented himself as being cool.
He was so cool.
And wrestling fans, wanted to like someone
sure
cool.
They did.
And he was cool.
Sure.
Although it was kind of weird when I had, is that Kevin Nash talking to Bryan Adams right now?
That's Darth Vader talking to me on my phone. Oh, and the Bigfoot.
I found it weird when other guys I went to high school with would refer to Kevin Nash as Big Sexy.
Right.
That was a little weird.
Well, it was a little weird, but they all wanted to be big and sexy. What's going on here?
Well, it's the Bobby Walker Rescue Squad.
Okay, got it.
So Vincent and Stevie Ray are coming in and
what are you
hitting that sucker with a slapjack.
Slapjack. Because sucker's got to go down. And now what they're going to do, they're going to take the measure Kevin Nash here. Motherfucker? Is he a motherfucker? Yeah, he's a motherfucker.
Sucker's got to know.
Sucker's got to know. I'm going to draw in. Let's bring the drunk out from the back.
How great is this? Sky Hall running down in a tank top, the backwards bandana.
That's right.
And a cocktail. When they portray it serious, it's stupid. When he's running around grinning like a possum on a run in, it's funny.
Yeah, I know. And it's even funny today. Sucker's got to know. Throw that drink in his fucking face.
No, he ain't going to do that. He shouldn't have done that.
Oh, that's what he should have done.
That's alcohol abuse.
Yeah.
He pours his drink out to go ahead and start punching Kevin Nash.
Yeah. Kick that motherfucker. That's right.
What do you know? Here comes Luger.
Yeah. Fans pop for the run in. Luger comes in.
Right behind him. Here comes Conan.
And they clean house. And this is setting up what?
Well, the rumor and innuendo, I think you're going to like this.
Okay.
Are you ready for the explanation?
Yeah.
The deal is, this is supposed to bring out the Ultimate Warrior.
What? Wait a minute. He's supposed to run out here?
Yes.
And he didn't?
Correct.
He refused to?
The lights go out, and Warrior's supposed to do a run-in to save Luger and Conan.
Right.
And there was just a massive miscommunication.
Oh, really?
So
you sure
they leave the segment before anything can happen?
Oh, you sure it was a massive miscommunication, or he just didn't fucking want to do it?
Well, that's what Meltzer wrote.
Okay,
I don't know.
Look,
but the plan was
for him to run out,
to him to run out and help make the save and clear him out.
God, it looks like us. I mean, that sounds like something we would do. Did you tell Warrior? No. Did you tell Warrior? Well, I thought you told him back when we had the meeting with him. No. I thought you were going to tell him like 10 minutes before. No, I didn't do it. Well, who was fucking going to do it? It was fucking Looney Tunes to the back. It was fucking Looney Tunes.
Doesn't it feel weird to have these guys run in
and then come out for a match
and then go back to the back for a commercial
and then come out? Yeah.
And then come back out.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely, it does. But that was us, man. A lot of the stuff we did didn't make sense, and I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of the stuff that's done now didn't make sense. That's being done now doesn't make sense. Wow, the reaction that they got.
Lex Luger, one of the more controversial figures in wrestling history, was at various times in his career super over.
Yeah.
Of course, we remember the year prior to this, they set a ratings record at the time, Hogan and Luger,
Right.
for the title switch that August, which we covered.
Right.
And here he's with Conan and part of the Wolfpack, and of course the Wolfpack's super over, and they're going to be taking on a couple of members of Jimmy Hart's stable, who I believe, let's see if I can get a look at him. I think it's Hugh Morris, and it might be Barry Darsow.
That is Barry Darsow. You got him. And they're part of Jimmy Hart's stable?
Well, Jimmy Hart's out there managing them. But he might just be specifically managing Hugh Morris. But Barry Darsow is a guy who most of us remember as either the Repo Man or probably most famously Demolition Smash, Crusher Khrushchev, Blacktop Bully.
Right.
And here, I think he's just Barry Darsow.
Yeah.
And he looks like a Barry Darsow.
Yes, he does. Yeah, but Barry could work. One night I was, watch out. Down he goes. What is Luger doing with, I guess it's part of the Wolfpack, right? Just wearing black jeans to wrestle in?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's just because it's the Wolfpack or maybe they forgot his gear. Maybe he's just past the point where he gives a shit.
That's right. The wrestlers used to tease Luger that he was big and upper body, but Ric Flair used to say, your calves are minuscule. Minuscule calves. They tell him that all the time. So maybe that was him covering up the minuscule calves. I'm not sure.
Well, it's the old Rick Rude. This is an upper body business, brother.
Yeah, he's right. In goes Conan. Here's a double team. Oh my God, that didn't look good at all. Actually, Barry doesn't look good here. And Hugh Morris.
It's amazing how Darsow as Demolition, just 7 years prior to this, was one of the most over people in wrestling.
God. Absolutely.
And had a distinct look. And here, just 7 years later, he doesn't even look like the same guy.
No, you're right.
I know it's a different gimmick, obviously, but it's just a totally different position.
Sure. Just goes to show you, put in the right spot, what you can become.
No, I totally agree. That's a great point that, when he's a part of Demolition with a great gimmick, he's over like Rover. And when he's not,
he's just another guy.
Here he is.
Yeah.
Jimmy Hart, is he on your Mount Rushmore of wrestling managers?
Yes, he is.
Who else would you put on your manager Mount Rushmore? We've had this debate a lot on Twitter lately with fans.
Well, it's Bobby Heenan. It's Jim Cornette.
Absolutely. Nobody argues those two.
Right.
Finish out the pack, though. You got Jimmy Hart and who?
Jimmy Hart, one more?
Yep. I have a guess who you're going to say.
You have no idea who I'm going to say.
Okay.
I'm going to say J.J. Dillon.
I knew you were going to say that.
Okay.
Well, and the reason I knew you were going to say that is you're an old Jim Crockett guy.
And he was with the Horsemen.
Sure.
Right. I mean, you could put Lou Albano on there, could you?
Well, I might put Paul Heyman.
Okay.
Or I might put Sherry.
All right.
But the variations of the guys we just named are who it always is.
Right. Yeah,
So
Heyman, I could see that. Sherry, to me, Sherry was like a wrestler.
Right.
I consider Sherry more of a wrestler than a manager. And I know she was a manager, but at the end there, but still. Well, it's always a torture rack, isn't it?
What do you think of the torture rack and the tequila sunrise as finishers?
Yeah.
I like the tequila sunrise.
Yeah, I do too. I didn't care much for the torture rack.
I thought the torture rack's kind of hokey.
Yeah, it was. The big thing about the torture rack was him getting him up over his back. That was a big deal.
Sure.
But then after that, to me, it lost a lot. There's that kid again. You see that?
What's up with that?
Giving Luger the too sweet. I don't know. Maybe it's somebody's. That wasn't Garrett, was it? Was that Eric Bischoff's kid?
Fuck it. It's Joe C. I'm calling it Joe C.
Okay, Joe C.
It's really not, but it's whatever. So let's talk about something else that was kind of coming up that was kind of interesting. There was a rumor in the Observer that Reid Flair was supposed to appear on Nitro to do an angle with Bischoff on October 5th in Columbia, South Carolina. And of course, we remember Reid Flair would appear on television. How big of a thrill was that for Rick to have Reid on TV like that.
I thought it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, for what it's worth, I thought Reed did a great job.
Oh, yes, he did. I've said this before, and I think I said it. There was an article about Ashley Charlotte that was done, and I was in the article, and I said, we all thought because of Reed's, because of his personality, because of the way he handled himself as a young kid, that he had a chance to be a star.
I think a lot of people thought that he had an opportunity to do that, and his demons just got the best of him before he had a chance to realize it.
Isn't it amazing that because you used to see Reed and Ashley in the back all the time, that Ashley was the one who became the star?
No, I don't think anybody would have guessed that.
No, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
There was some talk around this time that they were planning to do Scott Hall versus Kevin Nash in a bar fight match, where it would be taped in like a bar-like environment at either World War III or Starrcade. Do you remember hearing the rumors of that?
I remember Kevin Nash talking about that. That's something that Nash wanted to do. Absolutely.
Around this same time, Barbarian was missing dates because he had an injured neck. Hypothetically, if he was in the back and needed somebody to give him a little rub down, what do you think that would have sounded like?
Tommy Young, come over here and rub me in the neck, and then jack me off.
Brett,
happy ending, Tommy Young.
Brett and Owen were actually supposed to do an episode of the TV show Honey, I Shrunk the Kids together. Not together, you know what I mean? Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. But I found it interesting that it was Brett and Owen, a WWF performer and a WCW performer, working together.
Yeah.
Who is wrestling's speaking of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, who is wrestling's version of Rick Moranis, and why is it Tony Schiavone?
Now, wrestling's version of Rick Moranis is Dave Penzer.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Why do you say that?
Little sawed-off guy that was a pain in the ass in the backstage area.
Well, there you go.
We all like Dave, but he was just a pain in the ass. And Dave was quite the businessman, the entrepreneur. You know that? I mean, he started out by bringing job guys up from Florida.
I didn't know that. I know he's a realtor now.
Right, but he would like book all these job guys to come up for center stage,
and then get a piece,
and he would drive them up.
That's pretty cool.
He was kind of like their agent.
I like it.
And that's how he got in the business, because he was always in the backstage area.
Well, so now we're seeing something that, on the real commentary, you and Tanae have been hyping all night and done. I mean, even Meltzer gave you props for this.
Really?
Did a phenomenal job for this being the first ever meeting between Hulk Hogan and Bret Hart.
Right.
And I think most people, longtime wrestling fans, remember that the original plan was supposed to be Hogan wins the belt at WrestleMania 9, but then they cruise on into SummerSlam, and Bret and Hogan have a match at SummerSlam, and that's supposed to be the real passing of the torch at SummerSlam 1993. And Bret supposedly had been promised that Hogan would submit to the sharpshooter in the middle of the ring at SummerSlam 93. Well, of course, we remember that's not what happens, and Hogan is out of there after King of the Ring 93, and he's in WCW by 94. So that never happened. And all these years later, it's finally going to happen. And it's not happening on pay-per-view. It's happening on free TV.
Yeah.
And it's not even going to build towards a pay-per-view, because instead we're going to get Bret and Sting at that pay-per-view, and we're going to get Hogan and Warrior at that pay-per-view. But they're doing what they can to position Bret as a big deal. He's got the U.S. title, and he's coming in second, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And again, never before seen these two. And is he limping?
Yeah, he's selling a knee injury.
Okay. I just I go back to my old standard response here. This should be a pay-per-view match.
Sure.
It should be on top on the pay-per-view. Hogan and Bret Hart should be on the top of a pay-per-view. There should be an angle in this show to lead to that.
I know we're going to call this match in a minute, so I want to kind of get some other business out of the way first.
All right.
WCW was doing a promotion where on October 1st, they would have a lot of their wrestlers ring the closing bell at the New York Stock Exchange. Hogan, Savage, Goldberg, Sting, DDP, Luger, Nash, Hart. It's a pretty big deal for WCW to be invited to something like that.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
All right, let's do the match, Tony. A lot of people want to hear this for real, so let's do this.
All right, let's do the match for real. Back and forth they go. Hogan.
This is
oh God.
Is this the greatest night in the history of our great sport?
Well, not yet, but it's still to come. Collar and elbow tie up. Back into the corner they go. And there's Charles Robinson calling for the break. And are they going to get a clean break? Yes. Well, looks like we may have a scientific match here, Conrad. What do you think?
Well, anytime Hulk Hogan's in there, you know he's going to put on a clinic, brother.
Yeah.
Here he comes.
Side headlock for Hogan.
Headlock.
Hogan calling spots. He's trying to pretend that he's John with the fans, but he's calling spots. And he goes, ooh, lousy shoulder block takedown. And now Bret Hart slowly gets to his feet. And it looks like that some of the fans at front row ringside are they in trouble? Have they been? I saw a security guard over there a moment ago. Here is a reverse into a hammerlock, into a front face lock. Hogan floating over. Look at that. Hogan. Oh, and Bret Hart with a great counter move. And down to the arm he goes. Old school wrestling here, Conrad. And that's what we expected to see from two of the greats. Working on one part of the body, having the other person sell, Hogan trying to get out of it. Right now, Conrad, I would say this is the greatest match in the history of Monday Nitro, wouldn't you?
No.
Down they goes again. Hogan trying to get up to one knee. Into a full arm drag and twist. Were you guys on Twitter that thought it was an arm dragging and twist? It's an arm drag and twist. And now into an arm bar. Hogan trying to get out. So far, notice a guy in the crowd with the Austin 316 shirt on. He's been there all night. Why didn't we get rid of him? Look, there goes the fans. I told you. See ya. Fans in the front row are gone. And now Hogan comes up with the arm. And Charles Robinson calling for the break. Get up, motherfucker. That's what Hogan's saying. Well, Hogan's a tremendous heel. You got to admit that.
The best.
Yep. Tremendous heel. Absolutely. I like the look too, don't you?
Yeah, I want to know if you can rock this for Halloween for us. We need to see Tony Schiavone with a black beard and a blonde mustache. Can you pull that off?
Well, yeah. The only problem is a running clothesline. The only problem is now I have to dye the beard, right? So I'm going to end up going to like 4 or 5 Georgia Bulldog football games looking like that. Okay.
You could shave it off, actually.
Oh, I guess I could. And thank you for reminding me that I could shave. Oh, an elbow, and Bret Hart rules out, comes back in. New fans sitting in their front row seat are really excited about being there. Oh, and a lousy clothesline. Hogan is on the outside. Oh, I hear he's going to bring out Bret Hart. You know, Conrad, here's one thing that I don't like. Everybody goes on the fucking outside. Why? You can answer anytime you like.
Well, they're trying to set up the post shot. You know, I understand that Bret Hart is trying to work a little heelish here, and it feels like heels are going to be somebody to try to use the post.
Yeah, but everybody uses the post. We saw earlier with Kevin Nash and Bryan Adams on the outside using the post. We saw, we've seen it all. I mean, just stay in the ring. But I understand what's going on. Bret Hart came down. He was limping. Hogan is telling the fans, clear out of the way. Oh, he's going to drive the knee down, the back of the knee once again. Trying to hyperextend the knee and put Bret Hart in a bad situation. Hogan back to the floor once again. Boy, Hulk Hogan, Hollywood Hogan, if you will, being his lethal best here on this edition of WCW Monday Nitro from Rochester, New York. Oh, down on the leg once again. Seems to me here, Conrad, only thing Hogan will have to do is bring Bret Hart back into the ring, and he can win this match. But get him in the fucking ring. Let's go. Come on.
Do you think Hogan had a favorite referee and Charles Robinson? It feels like Charles called a lot of his big matches against Goldberg and the Georgia Dome and whatnot.
Yeah, well, Charles was our best referee at that time. He and Brian Hildebrand, Mark Curtis, if you will, Nick Patrick, all top referees. And I always thought what made a top referee is how he would try to be an authoritative figure in the match. It would be unsuccessful, but he would try to be an authoritative figure in the match. Of course, they all, kind of bow in reference to
Tommy Young.
Thank you. What the fuck? Okay, and now to the knee again. Down they go. Hogan is working on the knee of Bret the Hitman Hart. Can this match end this early? Is he going for the figure 4? No, it's a spinning toe hold. Right out of West Texas. A spinning toe hold. Holy shit. Hogan is being admonished. Why? Oh, Bret Hart is in the ropes. Oh, and he shoved Charles Robinson. Charles said, what the fuck? I'm a referee. And he's going for the toe hold again. Oh, my God. It's Sting. I haven't said that in 20-some years. Sting coming down to the ropes. He's in. He's pushing. What is he doing? Bret Hart didn't give up, did he?
No.
No. And here's Luger and Conan. They're both in. What the fuck is going on here? Is this another shit finish? Other channel jackass. I guess so. Bret Hart's pointing to his knee. He's hurt, but he's saying he wants to get back in the ring. And Sting says, no, you can't. What's your favorite line? Who booked this shit? Okay.
Well, I mean, this is the first ever Bret Hart Hulk Hogan match that we're going to get. We've been waiting for years and years. And here comes a fucking gurney.
A fucking stretcher.
And Conan and Lex Luger don't want to let him back in because he's going to hurt himself because his knee's too injured.
Jesus. Okay, whatever. And now Sting is in the ring. What is Hulk Hogan doing through all of this? Just staying in the corner? Sting's got his back to Hogan.
Bret is begging for a chance to be let back in.
No, look at him pointing, doing a great job on this.
And Sting's taking his jacket off. What does this mean? Wait a minute. Charles Robinson just pointed at him.
Is he booking the match? Oh, Charles Robinson's becoming Kurt Angle on the fly here. He booked the match during the commercial break. It's a match. Here we go. Back and forth they go. Sting and Hogan. Sting with the right hand. 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 Hit me on the back. I'm stuck. Sting with the right hand. Thank you. And now Sting up against the ropes again. And Charles Robinson saying, break. What? We got to check in to see what's going on with Bret. Thank you very much. With Bret the Hitman Hart. As you can see, he's still on the stretcher. Thank you. Now back to the fucking match. And Hogan and Sting in the ring. I said, thank you. Now back to the fucking match. Thank you. There we go. Oh, back body drop. A back suplex. Fans are going crazy. Fans up front are waving to the camera. Hogan. Is he talking the Ultimate Warrior here, you think? Isn't that the angle?
Yeah, they're trying to set up Halloween Havoc here, which will be Bret and Sting, and it's going to be Hogan and Warrior in just a few weeks.
1, 2, and a 2 count. Well, okay, so if it is, back we go to Bret Hart. All right. Well, Conan's becoming.
Thank goodness they're going to get him in this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we got to make sure we keep our eyes on that. Meanwhile, Sting with a running clothesline in the ring. That's the upper left-hand part of your corner, guy.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, shit. Who's the fuck? There's 2 nurses. It's Scott Steiner. And it's his fucking lackey. Oh, my God. That's got to be Buff Bagwell.
Big Papa Pump has your IV hookup. Holler if you need him. And there's Buff Bagwell wearing his painter's uniform.
Oh, Jesus. And what's Bret Hart doing?
Trying to unbuckle himself. And that driver is trying to get out of the way.
That driver trying to close Bret Hart in the door. Oh, Scott Steiner, I guess, told Bret, I'll get the fuck out of here. And Bret Hart says, yeah, I got to go back to the match that they all tuned in to see.
Maybe Strowman could go try to turn the ambulance over.
yeah, maybe so. Oh, where is Braun Strowman and the WWE bookers when you need them? Okay, they go to the ring, and now Sting has been shot. Apparently, this is a match, as we said. It was booked during the commercial break by either Daniel Bryan or by Kurt Angle. Who fucking knows? Oh, and here comes Bret Hart limping back in. Conrad, I'm not so sure he should come into the ring. He may be too hard. We're talking about your career here, right?
His career's on the line. Yeah. You know, he could do permanent damage to that knee. The way Hulk Hogan dropped the back of that knee over the guardrail, he could never recover.
Why is he coming back? I guess because that's the heart of the fighter. That is the heart of Bret the Hitman Hart from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And, of course, a tremendous second-generation wrestler. Sting is going to put the Scorpion Deathlock on. Bret Hart is cheering him on. Bret Hart is, oh, my God, it's a DDT. What in the world? What did we just see, Conrad?
I think what we just saw is Bret Hart has been disqualified for interfering in his own match. Or maybe Hogan was disqualified because Bret Hart interfered in his own match.
Oh my God. We're in the midst of a Nitro shit sandwich. My goodness. And all involved are Sting, Bret Hart, and Hogan. Now,
Hogan was looking for the high five, and Bret left him hanging.
Yeah. Now, we got to bring down, wouldn't you say, let's bring down the Ultimate Warrior, right? Isn't he here for Hogan?
It feels like the Warrior should be here to make the save, because we've got 3 of the 4 participants from Halloween Havoc in the ring right now.
Come on, Warrior. Here he comes, right? We're going to, anytime now. They're looking for the Warrior anytime.
Every time Hogan makes that snapping move with his hands, I keep wanting him to say snap into it.
Okay. I'm going to drag him over. And what's Hogan doing? Get out of the way, Michael Buffer. You made more money than all of us. And now, they're going to get a chair. Now, Ultimate Warrior's got to come in right now. Here he comes. Bring in the Warrior. Come on. They're going to destroy his leg. What the hell? Oh, my God. Oh, Sting will never be able to get up again. This was all a ruse, Conrad. This was all a ruse. He was never hurt. Bret Hart was never hurt.
But how was it a ruse? Like, how does it make sense that, I mean, our Luger.
Okay, you're watching Nitro from the late 90s, and you're trying to say, how does it make sense? What the fuck? It doesn't make sense.
So, of course, in the WWF, Bret Hart liked to put guys in a figure 4 around the ring post.
Yeah.
But you guys have a thicker ring post. You've got the little things for the smoke.
Yeah.
And
they'll explode it right now.
Now he realizes it won't really necessarily work. So he's just.
Yeah. They ought to fire off the ring post and put flames right up Sting's ass right now. That'd be a hell of a high spot, wouldn't it?
Literally.
Yes, it would.
He'd quite the pop.
Hogan now. Hogan's got to get the microphone. Are we still waiting on the Warrior here?
Yes.
Okay. What do you know? Have you read what happened to where the fuck is he?
There was what was described by Dave Meltzer as a massive miscommunication.
Oh, okay.
And the show goes off the air 3 minutes early because they're just tired of waiting.
Here comes Conan. I love Conan, but my God, there's no pop here. Everybody's waiting on.
Let's be clear. Conan was just ambushed by Big Papa Pump and Buff Bagwell, but now he's able to sprint to the ring.
Right.
But after fighting off Scott Steiner, he's somehow now afraid of Hulk Hogan.
Well, that's true because he was probably also beaten up by his lackey. And
wow. Hulk Hogan just did a cross chop and said finger licking to and Luger's there. So Luger's there to help his longtime friend Sting.
And they're gonna help Sting off, and then the Warrior's gonna come in, right?
Lots of knee injuries going on here. You know, Bret's right knee earlier, now Sting's left knee. Yeah. It's like the hokey pokey.
Yeah. Okay. And look at this. My God. Can I ask you point blank here, fans? Is this what you wanted to see? I know we're armchair booking, but didn't we want to see for the first time ever Hogan and Bret Hart? And what did we get? We got about 3 minutes of Hogan working on a knee, match over.
Lots of trash in the ring.
Yeah.
Fans are not getting what they paid for here.
No, they're not. I understand it's an angle, but if it's an angle leading to Halloween Havoc, where the fuck is the Ultimate
Look
Warrior?
at Hogan's reaction. Hogan's still trying to sell it. He still thinks it's coming.
Oh, no, he ain't not coming.
There's no Warrior.
No, he's not coming. Either he's in the back and he doesn't want to do it, or fuck it. We're out of time. Oh, God.
This is around the time you guys were doing the Nitro Plus experiment. Do you recall the Nitro Plus?
Nitro Plus? I don't, but it sounds like an Eric Bischoff deal.
The concept was it was on DirecTV, and you could watch during the commercials and then after the show and off the air. And you could do that for just a couple bucks. And Lee Marshall would be the guy on the call.
Okay. They ran out Lee to do the call. That's right. Yeah. You know, Dave Meltzer, and God bless Lee Marshall, just a snip about Lee. Dave Meltzer called him the worst play-by-play guy ever. I like Lee.
Who was the worst?
Who was the worst play-by-play guy ever? That's very difficult for me to say. I haven't heard them all.
The answer's you. We were looking for you. No, we're... I'm sure you'll prove me right this Thursday at MLW.
Yeah. Yes. By the way, Thursday, it's going to be available 72 hours afterwards. If you think they shit on Tony Schiavone in 1998, get ready.
Well, we had fun today, man. And next week, we're going to have fun too. We're going to be covering Ready to Rumble. Now, of course, I'm not exactly sure where you can find that movie. It's not on the WWE Network. And normally we tell you to just go to the WWE Network. So if you know where you found the movie and you want to share it with your fellow listener, tweet Tony and I. He is at Tony Schiavone 24. I am at Hey, it's Conrad, and we will make sure we retweet that and get it out to everybody so you can watch along with us next week.
I do believe it's available on HBO On Demand. HBO
so there you
go. I watched it recently on HBO Go, and they changed their movies a lot.
Wait. You watched it on purpose?
Oh yeah.
Wow. How about that?
Because I enjoyed the movie.
Wow.
You didn't like it?
I mean, it was okay, but I can't say that I've watched it recently.
We had Martin Landau in that movie, an Oscar winner, right?
No.
Didn't he win for Ed Wood? Didn't he win a Best Supporting Actor when he played Bela Lugosi in Ed Wood?
I believe you.
Yeah. Sal Bandini, want to wrestle? Tremendous. I'm thinking, good God, it's tremendous shit. So.
All right, we're falling off a cliff here.
Yeah,
you know what that means?
Yes, that means it's just about out of time.
Tony Schiavone and Conrad Thompson at the end of WCW Monday Nitro. We're still waiting on the Ultimate Warrior. We've been here 15 fucking minutes, and he's not coming out. Three things either happened. Either he didn't want to come out, it was a mass communication, or he is still blown up from that interview he did in the ring. Wait a minute. Looking, is that the Ultimate Warrior? It is! It's the Ultimate Warrior! He's coming to the ring! Thank fucking God! We're out of time! See you next week on WCW!
What's the name of our show, Conrad?
Oh, on WHW! What Happened When Monday! On the MLW Radio Network!
The world of MLW Radio never stops.